Bro, imagine if every girl could hear your thoughts. Like when you look at some fine shit and think, damn, let me dive in those balloons. She instantly hears your monologue. That's what happened to our little trash this time. You would think this should backfire, but when you see two hot babes and think that one is hotter, what happens with the other one? Girls are competitive, and now that bros have no filters on his mind, they are going crazy to change his plans. Now the real problem is that those are not your low IQ, brain-dead girls. They're all extremely smart and are playing some 4D chess moves on our protagonist, who is always getting himself trapped in some peculiar interactions by accidents that those sly vixens are making for him, like this brunette who hated him her whole life. But now that she can hear that he doesn't like her, she's all bubbly using her jiggly physics to make our boy fall in love again. This Aura's childhood friend, though, is a little more aggressive. The moment she knew that he found her hot was over, she began using all tricks in the book, and bro unfortunately couldn't hold back. Now, how is bro going to survive those unilateral relationships? That's why we're here. Let's get it.
Someone shouts, "Kid, why are you just standing there? Go say hi to the Xiao family's daughter. She's right there at the door." The protagonist blinks, looking confused, and the person yells again, asking if he's deaf. Then, smack, he gets hit on the head, and the old man barks, "Get up, you brat. Go say hi to her." The protagonist is Linghu Chang, CEO of the Linghu Corporation. And then the system speaks up. "That old man who just smacked you, that's your grandfather. In this Dragon King Seas world, we're in chapter 35, and your identity is the villain Linghu. You've got 5 chapters until you die. Good luck." The protagonist just freezes. Only 5 this time? Seriously? What the hell? Smack. Another hit on the head. His grandfather orders him to quit mumbling to himself, get up, and greet the girl already. He stands up, muttering, "Fine, you damn old man, I'm going." As he walks through the courtyard, everyone greets him respectfully, and he just keeps thinking, how long has it been since I got trapped in these books? I don't even know anymore. But it all started with that disaster. A billboard had collapsed that day, crushed him flat, and he basically turned into jelly. Right then, a strange voice told him he had activated the counterattack villain system. From that moment on, he started hopping through countless stories. And it's always the same. He drops into a story as the villain who's about to die, and he has to somehow survive against the protagonist. The problem? The protagonists are always broken. He could fire missiles, and they just swat them away like flies no matter how many he launched. The blasts bounce back and blow up the ground he's standing on. The very first time he tried talking to a sword master, the guy ran him through the heart before he could even finish a sentence. And now here he is again, with the system telling him to do his best. A car stops out front. He thinks. So this time it's one of those novels where the protagonist steals the villain's wife. The car door opens. Out steps a girl in tights, glowing with some kind of powerful magical aura. He immediately knows this must be the target. To the left stands Bixuan, the supposed protagonist of this story. And next to him is Churan, the eldest daughter of the Xiao family. Bixuan is practically radiating protagonist energy, glowing like some hero out of a drama. Our protagonist just thinks, damn it, this bastard really is shining. Bixuan approaches, "Miss Xiao, would you like me to carry your bags?" But she just snaps, "Don't touch me." Our guy remembers, "I'm Linghu, the eldest son of the Linghu family, but I've also been her lapdog since forever." He forces a smile. "Don't mind me, I'm just here to spoil you. Spoiling you is what I like to do. Don't worry." And now, after all these years of following her around, getting nothing, he has to compete with this guy. Bixuan, who has the perfect advantage of being her bodyguard, always by her side. In this story, he's unstoppable, maxed out, fully stacked. And worst of all, he hates him. Churan beams sweetly. "Hi, Bixuan, carry my purse for me." Linghu Shan just thinks, this guy's an idiot, throwing away his devotion on a woman like her and wasting the family's resources. None of this even makes sense. And I only have 5 chapters left. How am I supposed to steal this girl from Bixuan? This is one of those harem novels made just to make guys happy, but in my case, it's only here to screw me over. He sighs. "You know what? Forget it. I'll just take the beating, put up with the pain, and eventually it'll all be over." Out loud, he says, "Miss Churan, there's something I want to tell you." But she turns around coldly. "I don't care what you have to say, but I do have something to tell you." He gestures. "Go ahead, girl." He already knows what's coming. And she says, "Linghu Chang, give up whatever hopes you have. I will never marry you. Even if your family helps my father make more money through interest payments." Suddenly, the protagonist cuts in, "Good, because I was just about to say the exact same thing." She doesn't even notice and is about to say she won't get involved when she snaps back to reality. "Wait, what do you mean?" He says, "Yeah, I also want to cancel this engagement." She still looks lost while Bixuan wants to know what kind of scheme is going on this time. Churan agrees with him and tells Linghu to go ahead and reveal whatever plan he's plotting. She warns him that no matter what he says, she won't accept it and won't believe a word. What is wrong with her? Was he playing hard to get or something? Linghu sighs, "Girl, relax. There's no plan here." Miss Bellybutton Top crosses her arms and says, "I've already been through everything you're trying to pull. You're not tricking me with this act." The protagonist is fuming. This damn girl clearly just wants to keep me as her lapdog while I get humiliated in front of Bixuan. Too bad for her. You've already reached enlightenment. I'm done dealing with a stupid woman like this. She turns to leave without even bothering to shut the door. Out of nowhere, Churan freezes. "Wait, who just said that?" She looks around confused. "There's no one else here. So who called me stupid? What was that?" The protagonist says, "Miss Churan, you're taking this too far. I'll explain everything to the elders myself, that this engagement can't work. and then it'll all be settled. Bixuan is standing there, furious, while Linghu just storms off. The system pops up, panicked. Hey, something's wrong with the system. Why are his thoughts leaking out loud for everyone in the story to hear? I can't let this bug get reported or I'll be erased. Maybe I can at least tweak it so only certain thoughts and insults slip through. The rest is up to him. Linghu keeps thinking. According to the storyline, Bixuan gets mad because I stole his woman, and that leads to him beating me up. Which is perfect, because if I don't actually go after Churan, he won't have a reason to do anything to me. At the door, he says they've arrived. Everyone stays silent. Churan is still on edge, still wondering what that strange voice was. Linghu notices that for the first time, she told Bixuan to stay outside before coming into the room. Oddly enough, Bixuan didn't even seem all that angry. Inside, the grandfather greets them and Linghu announces that he's brought Miss Churan. One of the uncles sitting in a chair corrects him. Her name's not Xiao, it's just Churan. You should know that, being so close to her. And then the grandfather growls, put some heat on her, you brat. The protagonist says fine, but in his head he's thinking, there's no way I'm getting the #1 beauty in the city. Let her go into Bixuan's harem. I just want this engagement broken off so I can wrap up this ridiculous story already. But once again, Churan hears every word. Hey, that voice again. It sounded like it came from Linghu. I can tolerate him insulting me, but why is he bad-mouthing Bixuan about having a harem? She remembers the times Linghu protected her, told her not to worry, promised he'd always be there. He's my bodyguard, and I trust him because he keeps me safe. But this has nothing to do with a harem. Could this be some rumor being spread around? Linghu is completely lost, handing over the tea for the patient to take. The grandfather chuckles. These kids are still holding back. Then he turns to his brother. I think it's time they got married, don't you? But Churan suddenly stands up and says she disagrees. I'm sorry, Grandfather Linghu, but I have no relationship with Linghu Han. Marriage is out of the question. I don't love him. The protagonist replies, I agree with her. She's right. Forcing something like this would be wrong. It's better if we each go our own way. She finds his behavior strange again. Why is he acting like this? Then what I assume is her grandfather says, boy, you should agree with your wife, but now's not the time for this, son. She's still a little immature sometimes, so you don't need to worry about her words. But Linghu replies, no, uncle, you've got her all wrong. She's an extremely mature woman. If she's decided she's not getting married, then it's not happening. That's it. No way we're getting married. Absolutely no way. The protagonist doesn't want to get beaten up by Bixuan for no reason, while Churan stands there baffled. Why did he change so suddenly? Yesterday he sent me a 5,000-word letter. Her grandfather gets emotional. Boy, I get it. You're going to stay by her side even without the engagement. That's what you mean, right? You really are remarkable. Linghu mutters to himself, you got it completely wrong, old man. But the uncle turns to Churan and tells her she has to realize how far Linghu is going for her, and that this marriage will happen. The protagonist suddenly drops to his knees, tugging at his pants. No, uncle. No, I don't want to marry her. Please forgive me. Churan overhears him and he thinks, you stupid woman. You're always opening that big mouth to say you don't want to marry me. Why are you quiet now? Go on, complain to your father. Tell him you don't want this marriage, you idiot. But then, out of nowhere, Churan smiles. Suddenly, her whole attitude changes. Oh great, look at this damn woman. Look what she's about to do. She says, wow, I think I finally understand. You keep talking about not wanting to marry me, and I thought you'd change your mind. But really, you just want to protect me. Father, grandfather, I've decided. If we don't have feelings yet, we can build them. I agree to marry him. No. The protagonist just stands there, completely lost. This girl's sick. She must have taken the wrong medicine. She needs to go to the hospital. She definitely didn't sleep right last night. Something's seriously wrong here. He still doesn't get it while she just smiles at him, teasing him, saying the parents only want the best for them. Doesn't he like me anymore? She asks, pushing him. He blurts out, of course I like you. But in his head, damn it, I want to crack her head open and see if her brain is smooth. And Churan just keeps thinking she never imagined he had so many inner dramas. Seeing him being forced to agree with her was kind of fun. Look at her, she's practically drooling. This damn girl. And Linghu grabs her by the arm and says they need to have a talk outside. He asks permission from the elders, who just laugh. Haha, young love really is romantic. By the wall, he tells her, you cursed woman, you don't get it. This relationship isn't going to work. You can still refuse. But now that she knows he doesn't want it, she does want it. This marriage was arranged by the family. Why would I refuse? Linghu insists it's because she should marry someone she actually loves. He reminds her that she's always treated him poorly, so all he asks is that she have a little mercy and cancel this now. She puts on a cute act, saying, I might not like you right now, but what if I start to like you later? The protagonist yells, no, Bixuan's going to kill me. And now Churan hears that too and is confused. Why does he keep mentioning Bixuan? What could Bixuan possibly do to him? And why would he even do anything? Why is Linghu, one of the top young masters of the great families of Sang City, afraid of a bodyguard? Suddenly, Linghu puts his hand to his chin. It's over. Too late now. He slams his hand against the wall and says he'll ask one last time. Will you accept or reject it? She smiles and says she accepts, and even asks what he's going to do about it. The protagonist just freezes. He really can't do anything. And with that, they're already raising glasses of wine, celebrating the marriage of these wonderful young people. Everyone at the party is talking about it. An alliance between the Linghu family and the Xiao family was a powerful thing indeed. They always used to say that Miss Xiao wasn't interested in Linghu, so apparently all those rumors were wrong. Bixuan is standing there shocked. What just happened? She suddenly changed her mind. He's so mad he shatters his glass in his hand. Then he growls, "Shev, I'm against this marriage." The protagonist is sweating bullets. Damn, Bixuan finally showed up. My fate's sealed. Meanwhile, the Chow family's patriarch, Shuran's father, asks who Bixuan even is. Bixuan smiles. "Take a good look and you'll know." The man squints trying to think while everyone at the banquet just stares, unsure who this guy is. Could you be some unknown rich heir? Then the old man remembers. "Ah, that's right. You're my daughter's bodyguard, aren't you? And why do you think you can speak up against this marriage?" Now the whole hall is buzzing. Things were getting interesting. A bodyguard opposing a wedding. Ling's silently fuming. Damn these side characters, they're going to rile him up even more. Right then, Shuran's father dismisses Bixuan on the spot. "That's enough. You're no longer authorized to be here." But Bixuan stands his ground. "That's enough for me too. I'm not letting you force her into something she doesn't want. Her marriage shouldn't be decided just by your opinion." Shuran, however, doesn't like that one bit. "Bixuan, if my father's words don't matter, whose do? Yours?" Her father shouts that he's done arguing with a bodyguard and orders him escorted out. Bixuan laughs. "Two guys think they can stop me? Then bring it on. Call 10 more if you want." The father agrees. "Fine, if that's how you want it. Everyone, get him." Bixuan glances sideways, then launches a punch straight into the first guy's gut, sending him flying. The rest of the guards hesitate, then mutter, "Guess we have to go together," and rush him. Bixuan crouches, ready, slams a fist into one guy's jaw and backhands another, and suddenly a wave of energy bursts out from him, sending everyone flying across the room. "Who's next?" he growls. Ling was just watching, stunned. "Whoa, this guy's really strong. I'd better get out of here before I get caught up in this." Then he claps his hands, smiling. "Wow, brother Bixuan, you're so strong. Come on, man, you're taking this wrong. Why get so mad? Don't worry, Shuran won't marry me. Isn't that what you want?" Everyone around is whispering. This bodyguard just ruined the wedding. What a disgrace for both families. But they're impressed with how calm Lingu stayed. He looked so poised, so regal. This was what a noble young master should be. Bixuan thinks this must have been Lingu's plan all along, to make him look like the fool. Meanwhile, the protagonist is panicking. What the hell's going on here? Usually the crowd never sides with the protagonist. Why are they agreeing with me this time? He's already imagining his own death. No, something's wrong. You should just grab Churan and run off already. Go ahead. She's your girl. He looks at Bixuan. "Bixuan, aren't you going to do something?" Churan giggles to herself. This Lingu might look calm on the outside, but inside he's yelping like a puppy. Seeing him struggle this hard is really entertaining. And then it hits me. She's getting married wearing the same outfit. They didn't even bother to draw a proper wedding dress for her. Bixuan thumps his chest and declares that he doesn't care about anyone else. As long as Miss Churan is safe, nothing else matters. From now on, no matter how many people stand in the way, no matter how much negativity surrounds us, I have nothing to fear. Churan locks eyes with him. The protagonist cheers silently. "That's it, Bixuan. Go get her." That was the perfect speech. Now all she has to do is act like a princess and let you sweep her away. But then Churan suddenly throws up two bazookas and says that yeah, sometimes he really does get on her nerves. The protagonist just stands there, totally lost. Why is she looking angry right now? She's supposed to cry, get emotional, and let this guy carry her away. Churan glances sideways, looking kind of fed up. Bixuan steps forward, grabs her arm, and asks if she wants to escape through a route he knows. She doesn't need to worry, he can clear the way for her. But she smacks his hand away and snaps, "Quit being so dramatic, you lunatic. What the hell?" Then she turns to Lingu, like she's about to say something, but doesn't. Bixuan is trembling and then, wait. Churan says she's figured it all out. She says it seems like this world she's in is a novel made for men, and she's one of the heroines who's supposed to end up with Bixuan. What? This girl just reached the 5th dimension. She's aware of her own existence. Holy hell, it's the first time I've ever seen a female lead understand the Matrix. And there she stands, tall and imposing, with those wide hips staring straight at Lingu. Bixuan calls out to her, asking if she isn't afraid that this guy will hurt her in the future. The protagonist flinches. "Why are you two standing so close to me?" He's trying to figure out if the bastard is about to punch him. Bixuan gets in his face and says, "You idiot. As long as I'm here, you don't get to so much as think about laying a finger on her." But Churan tells him to move aside. She wants to talk to Lingu. He ignores her completely and steps in front of her again, telling Lingu to stop forcing himself to think he can have her. "In the future, I'll deal with you," he says. At that point, Churan snaps, "Stop being so presumptuous, Bixuan. I'm not going with you." But he turns around with this lovesick look and says, "Churan, your heart is bitter. I know sometimes you say one thing but mean another. Even with this guy trying to hurt you, you're still kind and caring. Are you scared the Lingu family will try to get revenge on me?" Churan is half in shock. Honestly, Bixuan's logic almost makes sense. He goes on, saying her silence speaks volumes, but she doesn't have to worry. He's not afraid of any retaliation. He swears he won't let such a gentle and kind girl fall into the Lingu family's trap. Then he spins toward the protagonist, anger in his eyes. "Damn it, Lingu. There's something wrong with this kid." The protagonist remembers that this is the exact part of the story where Bixuan glares at him like he wants to kill him, and that's when he dies. That Rex woman. She's putting on this whole act just so this guy will kill me. Churan is just standing there, taking all of this in, thinking she's done nothing wrong. "Hey, Lindu, do I look like I'm acting right now?" That's when her father steps forward and says enough is enough. "Bixuan, you're just a toad wanting to eat swan meat. The Chinese really love that weird phrase. But it doesn't matter. Linghu is already part of my family. Linghu is just standing there thinking. Father and daughter are both trying to kill me, shooting arrows straight at me, making all these damn plans to ruin my life. Bixuan snarls, no way, you're not going to force Chu Ran to marry this useless playboy. Chu Ran, relax, I won't let this guy harm you. Chu Ran can't even explain herself anymore, realizing that everything she says, this guy just completely misinterprets. This was turning into a real headache. Bixuan smiles and says, Hemph, you're still such a shy girl, I'll come back for you. Linghu just stares at him. Oh, you're leaving already, Bixuan. Inside he's screaming, take your damn wife with you and stop messing with the story already. But Bixuan turns back and says, that smug attitude of yours won't last much longer. Next time we meet, I'm going to expose the mutt you really are, humiliating others just to feel superior. But in the future, everyone there would end up kneeling before him. Linghu couldn't care less about that whole speech. All he's thinking is whether Bixuan is actually going to leave. He calls out, Bixuan, are you going to wrap things up here? May I mean to find a way to take Chu Ran with you and get out of this place. Bixuan, confused, doesn't get why the kid is acting so strange and says he'll be back. Don't worry, I'll return, he promises. Linghu, meanwhile, doesn't understand why Chu Ran isn't doing anything. If this guy would just take her away now, there'd be no reason for him to come back later and rip my throat out. It'd be way better if she just disappeared from here. Poor Chu Ran has her hand over her face while the two of them argue. She finally snaps and yells that they're both adults. When is this going to end? Then suddenly she grabs Linghu's arm and kisses him. What the hell? She declares that this is proof enough and says she'll marry him. She likes Linghu and Bixuan should leave. But the protagonist is delusional. He's wondering how he's supposed to save her now. I'll have to bankrupt the entire Linghu group. That's the best option. The protagonist is standing there not understanding a thing. Then the system congratulates him for completing the first mission. He's changed Chu Ran's mindset, and now she'll help him survive for 5 chapters. As a reward, he's given a 600 square meter villa. Holy hell. This is the first time I've seen a system story where the guy actually has to work hard to get something. This was no freebie. But the protagonist is just thinking, come on. I got 9 digits in my bank account. What am I supposed to do with a villa? And just like that, we're in the protagonist's new house. Finally, after that chaotic banquet, he's able to relax a little. Sitting there peacefully, sipping wine, he says, hey system, got anything for me? Right away, the little interface pops up. Yes, today begins the second stage of the story. In this part, Chu Ran and Linghu are forced into this so-called alliance marriage. Dajuan, her father, takes the two of them to meet Emperor Tanzhu. Tanzhu is the uncle who trained and raised Dajuan, now 70 years old with an illness that's getting worse. So everyone is bringing him treatment after treatment, most of which are useless. In the original story, Linghu introduces a special doctor, almost like a divine physician. But in the end, he just embarrasses himself, and once again, Bixuan shows up to humiliate him. That's because Bixuan had already mastered the 9 profound heavens, a medical technique with a perfect success rate. With that, Bixuan miraculously saves old Tanzhu, who naturally starts to favor him. That's when the Linghu family starts to lose power, since Tanzhu decides to support Bixuan's family instead. Linghu is thinking, oh hell. According to the plot, that bastard Bixuan should already have the technique, and I have nothing to offer. Basically, I'm just going there to get beaten up. The system chimes in, hey, don't give up. You're the villain. You have to fight for it. Survive. Right then, the door opens. Someone says that today's the banquet and Linghu should get ready. It's a guy named Hu Chang, and the system immediately warns him. This guy has the title King of Provocations. Just having Hu Chang nearby raises your chance of dying here by 50%. Linghu thinks, damn it, where did this bastard even come from? I need to get rid of him. So he turns to Shang and says, Chang, I'm proud to have a bodyguard like you. You're way too talented for this. That's why I'm sending you to America to become a shareholder. You're going to make a fortune. Chang just looks confused. Huh? Master, how am I supposed to do that? I don't know anything about stocks. Are you crazy? The protagonist tells Chang not to worry. Believe in yourself, man. Give it your all. Get on that plane. You're gonna become the best. He thinks to himself finally, with the guy who we've spent all day provoking everyone gone, I'm free. But yeah, right, like they actually write him out of the story so easily. Baldi's gonna be back any minute. Outside the Tan family hotel, our boy steps out of the car, straightens his tie, and tells Chu Ran they've arrived. But while he's busy with his little plan, another mage with those big magical spheres shows up, asking why he looks so familiar. What the hell is this? Is this some kind of action figure? I can see every possible angle. She steps out of the car and says she remembers now. Oh no, he's already tugging at his tie. She asks if he's not the ex-boyfriend she hated most. This one's going to be even tougher. She already knows him. The protagonist thinks there I am, hand on my hip, and remembers. This is Malcolm Yi. The name comes back to him as the system triggers a memory. They were childhood classmates and had a sweet relationship for a while, but it seems they broke up over some completely ridiculous misunderstanding. Not long after that, Linghu became Chu Ran's lapdog, and that's when she started pulling away from him. The guy can't go 16 seconds without a woman around. A real lovesick fool. Chu smiles, saying it's been a while since they talked, but there's no way he could have forgotten her. The protagonist, meanwhile, can feel the sheer weight of her magic and admits she's breathtaking. It's hard not to appreciate that she used to be his girlfriend. But at the same time, he thinks to himself that he's stubborn. And of course, Black Thought Bubble. We know she can hear him. She startled, looking around, trying to figure out who just said that. By the time she looks forward, our protagonist is already heading for the car. He leans toward the blonde guy. How much is this car, huh? Let's talk business. Meanwhile, he's thinking, great, another woman showing up to cause me problems. Get lost. But that thought gets captured too, and she notices that now that he's farther away, the voice is a little quieter. Linghu casually asks the blonde guy, hey buddy, wanna go have a smoke with me? But the thought that gets captured is, damn it, what good is it that she's hot? In the end, she'll just end up in that guy's harem. I'm the biggest fool in this book. That bastard stole God's favor, and now he wants to steal my ex-girlfriend too. The villain's life really isn't easy. Fuyu hears all of it and steps closer. What nonsense are you talking about? Confused, he says he didn't say anything. She replies, you might not admit it, but you really are making a mess of things. After holding on to Chu-Ran for so long and finally winning her over, now you're trying to make her mad. The protagonist is completely lost, thinking, I'm literally begging for a divorce. What's the point of all this? I don't even like that weirdo Chu-Ran. A better match would be someone like her, a childhood friend. But of course, she hears that too. Damn it. And now we've got another smart girl on our hands. She's already realized that he doesn't know she can hear every single one of his monologues. But that's not even the most important thing. She wants to know what he means by saying she's better than Chu-Ran. So she asks, why do you look sad whenever you talk about Chu-Ran? Do you not want to marry her? Linghu sighs. This marriage is a minefield. Kuyu presses him. Then why are you her lapdog? The protagonist launches into another inner rant, which she also hears, saying he never wanted to be her lapdog. He was forced into it. That lunatic Chu-Ran manipulated all of Baeksuan's hatred so that the bastard would want to kill him. Damn story with zero intelligence. He just wanted to kick them both. Kuyu is giggling while he just stands there like, seriously? Is she stupid? Literally? A random insult pops into his head. She steps closer and says, so that explains it. That misunderstanding all those years ago wasn't your fault. Great, now it's not a magic academy, but fireballs keep flying the protagonist nonstop. She sighs, saying it's a shame he still has to get married. And then he drops the legendary line, even a good horse likes to graze in familiar fields. Damn Chinese competing with Socrates now. He gently pushes her away, saying life would be way easier with someone like Kuyu. But now he has no choice. Right then, Chu-Ran steps out of the car, and she heard his inner monologue saying Kuyu would be better for him than her. She sees them close together and shouts his name. She's clenching her fists in anger, watching them so close, but then stops for a moment and decides to play it smart. Oh, this girl knows how to play. She walks over, all smiles. Linghu, I've been looking for you for so long. He's completely confused. What the hell is going on? Feels like Magic Academy again. Another fireball straight to the poor guy's face. Before he can react, she grabs his face and says she wants a kiss. The protagonist is baffled. Why the hell does she have a sudden personality switch like that? Kuyu instantly realizes it's just a cheap trick. Linghu, we'll have a talk after the banquet. Don't forget, my number hasn't changed. She says this right in front of the fiancé, who's showing up to get married in the same dress again. Oh wait, right, today is just the meeting with the old man. Chu-Ran pinches him hard, glaring. You bastard, did you forget you're going to marry me? Why are you flirting with other women? The protagonist snaps back. Chu-Ran dropped the act. There's no one else around. You think I don't know? You don't even want to marry me. But Chu-Ran demands, you think you're escaping now? The announcement's already been made, half the city knows. There's no way you can run from this. The protagonist growls, wouldn't it be better if you found someone you actually love? She fires back that it's none of his business who she loves. That choice is hers. The two of them are bickering while Baeksuan watches from afar. Chu-Ran is suffering so much. Though that smile on her face, it doesn't look like suffering at all. This damn Linghu is too slick with women. The poor girl can't resist his tricks, but saving Chu-Ran is my duty. I won't give up on her. Baeksuan is practically glowing with determination while inside the hall, Chu-Ran is driving Linghu around. He keeps telling her to stop with the theatrics, but she just says there's no reason to. They're getting married now. He still insists they should talk about ending this engagement instead. Walking with his head down, he mutters. Any second now, Baeksuan's gonna show up and wreck everything. I better stay away from this woman because he's definitely going to talk to her, and I don't want to be anywhere nearby when that happens. He excuses himself. Someone's calling me over there. I'll go ahead. Apparently, Chu-Ran didn't catch that thought, and she's left wondering if he really hates her that much. As he passes by, Tanzu spots him and calls him over. Linghu, I was looking for you. I prepared an incredible gift for you. The gift is Dr. Shangwen, who steps forward and adjusts his glasses. Yes, I am a top-class physician, he says confidently. Tanzu explains, Linghu, this man is an excellent play. Even if his treatment doesn't work, people will see that you tried out of goodwill. And if it does work, even better, this will definitely strengthen the bond between the Xiao family and the Linghu family. The protagonist just asks, what's this old man's name again? He remembers that in the original story, the so-called divine doctor was also brought in, and his surname was Shangwen. But in the end, Baeksuan exposed the guy as a complete fraud. Linghu had tried to make sure that man wouldn't appear at all, because if Baeksuan humiliates him, he'll be associated with the failure and might get beaten up for nothing. He's doing everything he can to remove the people who only make his life harder, but it's not easy. Then he wonders if there are parts of the story that just can't be changed, like the doctor's appearance, since the whole plot kind of revolves around him. Tanzu interrupts him. Boy, why are you just standing there? Don't you want to take the doctor inside? The The protagonist clutches his stomach dramatically. Stomachache, give me a second. And he bolts for the bathroom. Outside, holding a wine glass, he thinks the whole situation is completely insane. And then, bam, his childhood friend shows up sticking close to him. She asks if something's wrong because she can tell he's not doing well. She grabs his jacket, saying she noticed his interactions with Chu-ran didn't look natural at all. Lingu just glares at her and tells her to take her hand off him. I'm already engaged, he says. But in his mind, he's thinking that in his experience with these kinds of stories, you never touch a beautiful woman because they'll all end up in a protagonist's harem anyway. Kyu says none of that matters. Marriages can be called off. The protagonist just stares at her, thinking to himself, another thought bubble that gets captured. This girl really is testing my mental fortitude. He's trying to resist, but this little demon with a tiny waist and everything else going for her is hard to ignore. Of course, she blushes right away, wondering if he really thinks that. She decides to go in for stage 2, saying she wants him to be honest. Who do you prefer, Giwa Chu-ran? The protagonist turns away and says, Chu-ran is my fiancé. You're just a stranger. But inside, he's thinking, damn it, I can't hold on anymore. And she doesn't stop. She goes in for a sneak attack, biting him lightly, saying he has to be honest. They're friends, sure, but what kind of friends are they? The protagonist tells her to have a little self-respect. His heart is pounding so hard it's about to explode. He says it's getting hard to resist. He's a man, after all, and he's about to lose control. Kuyu just laughs at him, thinking he's a hypocrite. He's saying all this, but his thoughts make everything perfectly clear, and she finds it hilarious. The protagonist notices she's having fun with this, but just then, he sees Bixuan coming. He suddenly shoves Kuyu back and says, enough. As long as this engagement is still happening, you're just a stranger to me. Even he gets mad at himself for pushing her. Damn it, how could I push away something that perfect? But he knows he can't go any further. If he does, he's finished. Seems like the villain's fate is to just look a lot and touch very little. But Kuyu hears all that and just laughs softly, while Lingu thinks, I'm humiliating myself here and she's laughing at me? He starts thinking this girl doesn't even see him as a human being in this story. He demands to know why she's laughing so much. She says it's nothing, that she just thought about something that made her happy. Fed up, Lingu says he's leaving. This story is already getting weird. I'm done with it. He opens the door. Today he wants to stay far away from all the women at this banquet and that creepy doctor too. When the doctor finally goes to meet the emperor, Lingu plans to fake another stomachache and vanish. But when he glances back, Kuyo is suddenly on the floor. Yup, master, I fell, she says. He's confused. She hasn't moved an inch, so how could she have fallen? Obviously, she's up to something. And Bixuan is standing nearby watching. Lingu knows this bastard is going to step in any second. Kiryu says, young master, help me up. Inside, Kuyu is thinking it's all clear now. He doesn't like Chu-ran, so all she has to do is take advantage of that and make him fall for her again. Lingu just says, you fell. That's your own fault. Nobody told you to wear heels that high. Then he turns to leave. But he stops for a moment, realizing that even if he can't get close to her, he also can't just insult her. If she gets angry and complains to Bixuan, who will eventually have her in his harem, he's going to get beaten and screwed over anyway. Kumyu hears all of that loud and clear. She warns him, Lingu Hang, if you don't help me, I'm going to get very angry. And me being angry could have serious consequences. He panics and tells her, all right, get up slowly, while thinking, damn girl, don't get too close to me. You're going to be Bixuan's concubine sooner or later. Kumyu can't understand what he means. She's a noble woman of the Mao family. Why would she ever have anything to do with Bixuan? He asks her if she can walk or if he should call the doctor. She insists, I can't walk. You'll have to hold me by the waist like before. And right then, it's internal bleeding time. Bixuan shows up, smacks Lingu on the back, and orders him to let her go. He pulls Kuyu over to him and says Lingu is disgusting. Don't worry, he tells her. Just stay by my side. Kuyu is completely lost. Then Bixuan turns back to Lingu. You two-faced bastard, you're engaged to Chu-ran and now you're flirting with innocent women. Lingu is dumbfounded. Flirting? With who? I haven't done a damn thing. But Bixuan keeps shouting, calling him shameless, loud enough for the entire banquet to notice. Kumyu urges him to keep his voice down, but Bixuan refuses. This guy needs to be called out publicly. Chu-ran has to see his true colors. And just then, a bald-headed man appears, demanding to know what's going on and what Lingu's relationship is with his sister. This is Mao Xiaojun, Q's brother. The two men stare each other down, but somehow they already seem to understand one another. Lingu knows these siblings have some shady schemes going on. According to the story, Xiaojun and Kuyu are fighting for control of the Mao family. And before the banquet, Xiaojun secretly met with Bixuan and struck a deal. They convinced a faction of the Mao family to invest in a garbage project that's guaranteed to lose money. When that happens, Xiaojun will gain more power and take full control of the family. But Bixuan has an even smarter plan. Right before the stock value crashes, he'll contact Kuyu and save her family, securing her loyalty and, of course, adding her to his harem. Lingu just thinks, these dogs are ruthless. Kuyu is standing there shocked. Apparently she heard everything. Xiaojun asks if she needs help, but she's seething with anger. She can't believe her own brother is plotting with outsiders for something like this. Worst of all, her father really did invest in that ridiculous Project Mars. She tells Xiaojun she's fine. She just needs some time alone, and leaves. As she walks away, she wonders how Lingu could possibly know all of this. He never cared about investments or studied business, so how could he have this information? Could it be that he's always cared about her? Maybe he was always thinking of her. And this is what true love really is. The girl is practically about to faint. Meanwhile, Bixuan grabs the protagonist and tells him not to even think about running. He has to show everyone what he did to the poor Mao girl. Suddenly, Kumyu speaks up, pity in her voice, and tells Bixuan it isn't necessary. He was helping me. He was a perfect gentleman. You should let the young master go. Suddenly, Kumyu clings to the protagonist's arm and says Bixuan is just spouting nonsense without knowing anything. He's just a bodyguard, so why is he acting like some wild beast? The protagonist sighs inside. Damn it, here we go again. Kumyu leans on him, whining, help me, my leg hurts. The protagonist mutters, girl, I'm at my wedding. Find someone else. But then she presses her hand to her stomach and threatens, if you don't help me, I'll scream and tell everyone you tried to take advantage of me. Right then, he realizes this woman is poison, and with no choice, he walks out with her. Kumyu warns her brother as they pass, when I reveal everything, you better be ready. We're going to settle this. Her brother just stands there stunned, not sure what she means. Meanwhile, in the reception hall, Lingu sets her down in a chair thinking, the second I step out that door, I'm done for. But Kumyu doesn't want to let him escape. She says her legs hurt badly after that fall, and she needs a massage. The protagonist insists it's not the right time. Inside, he's panicking. Any move I make here, Bixuan's going to hate me for it. This can't end well. She hears all of it and says it's nothing serious. She just wants some help to feel better. And obviously, if he doesn't do anything, she'll scream and make it sound like something's happening. He hesitates, begging her to wait, but she starts counting down. 3, 2, at 1, I'm screaming. With no way out, the protagonist is forced to begin the sequence of attacks. The strikes are precise. She starts writhing in pain, and suddenly, white blood flows. She must be an alien. Holy hell! Someone take the pencil out of the author's hand. This needs to stop. He asks if she wants him to go further. She just keeps reacting. What is happening here? The fight is way too intense. She's breathing heavily, exhausted, like the battle is wearing her out. Lingu blurts out, this is getting weird, isn't it? Meanwhile, out in the garden, Bixuan is confused. Brother Mao, what's going on? Your sister's being tricked by Lingu. Mao Xiaojun answers, oh, so you're interested in my sister, are you? The solution's simple. Kumyu admires strength. She likes capable men. Just impress her, and naturally she'll become yours. Bixuan frowns. But it seemed like she was getting along with Lingu. Xiaojun reassures him, don't worry. They'd only had a few chats. He's married now, so at most they see each other once in a while. Nothing to worry about. Then he leaves, and Bixuan is left there thinking, damn Lingu, all these women around you. Soon, they'll all be mine. At that moment, someone calls from across the hall. It's Shuran's father asking a certain guest to present the doctor to the emperor. This is exactly the moment Bixuan has been waiting for, to flip the script. A few people peek in through the door, whispering that things look dire. The old man is even fainting. That night at the elder's house, he's not even waking up. Dazhuang tells Lingu that his uncle's condition is only getting worse. He really does need the divine doctor. Lingu asks, Shangwen, do you know what's going on? The doctor rubs his forehead and says he's almost certain. He just needs to check the pulse. Bixuan, watching this, is convinced. Today is the day Lingu goes down. The doctor helps old Tanzu sit up, saying he's finally regained consciousness. He explains that this illness is strange. Many doctors have examined him, but none have found the cause. Worse still, the medicine they've been using has grown less effective with time. If you have any solution, he pleads, please don't hesitate to help me. Hyojin turns to Bixuan and says, Bixuan, this man is the head of the Tang family. How confident are you that you can improve his condition? Bixuan isn't stupid. He knows that bastard Xiaojun is trying to use him to gain favor with the Tan family. But fine, he'll let himself be used this time. They both want the same thing anyway. So he says, I can check his pulse, but just by looking at his face, I'd say there's at most a 50% chance of curing him. Xiaojun celebrates anyway, saying he was right to trust him. And he reminds Bixuan not to forget to give him some credit if the treatment works, so they can share in the benefits. Bixuan hates Xiaojun putting a hand on his shoulder, but for now, he'll let it slide. After all, he's still just a bodyguard here. Xiaojun pulls him forward. Come on, let's check his pulse. But Bixuan stops him. He remembers the saying, show a brick to attract jade. Meaning, you show something of little value first, and then the truly amazing thing appears later. If they rush in and show off his skills too early, it won't have the same impact. He explains they should let the other guy go first. Xiaojun asks, wait, you mean let the divine doctor try before us? But if he cures him, we're screwed. Bixuan assures him, relax. That guy only pretends to be a doctor. He's just a fraud. And if the divine doctor fails, just imagine how impressed they'll be when we step in afterward. Xiaojun thinks about it, then nods. Makes sense. Damn, Bixuan. You're sharp. At that moment, Xiaojun puts a hand on the so-called doctor. Everyone, look who we've got here. It's the divine doctor. He drags the man forward and says, Dr. Divine, didn't you just arrive with the Xiao family? Why don't you take a look at the old master here? One of the sons exclaims, thank God the Xiao family brought someone to help us. Shangwen hesitates, but says he'll take a look. In the background, the father is quietly cheering him on, telling him to do his best. Linghu, on the other hand, is anxious, thinking that in the end, this whole mess is going to fall on him. Dazhu Wang steps up to reassure everyone. The 18th generation of the Wang family has produced incredible doctors. They've saved countless lives. Divine Dr. Shangwen is unmatched. They say he's the reincarnation of Master Hua himself. Linghu mutters in his head, damn it, why are you exaggerating this introduction so much? If it goes wrong, they'll all blame me. Shangwen examines the pulse. My analysis shows the rhythm isn't right. This illness comes from the liver. It seems his gallbladder is blocked by the 6 meridians and fire is spilling into the heart. The poison is building up in both heart and liver, worsening his condition. Then he says calmly, but don't worry. With my technique of the 9 divine meals, everything will be resolved. Baeksuan smirks from the side. Ridiculous technique. My celestial spiritual flower is far superior. Once you embarrass yourself with this, I'll step in. That will be the moment of Lingu's downfall. The doctor begins preparing the needles. Then suddenly, he calls for young Lingu to come closer. The protagonist freezes. Me? The doctor nods. Yes, I need a certain kind of help. I'm counting on you. Lingu panics. I don't know anything about medicine. There's no way I can do this. Inside, he's thinking, why the hell is this guy calling me over? Even slaughtering pigs requires a professional. What makes him think I'm useful here? At this rate, I'm dead tonight. But Shangwen says, young Lingu is very humble. Are you really going to keep this secret from everyone? Then he turns to the crowd and declares, I've heard that a long time ago, young Lingu received a talent in the art of medicine. The last time my shoulder hurt, he hit the perfect acupuncture point and the pain was gone in a second. Lingu is just standing there thinking, this guy's out of his mind. He's obviously kissing up to me in the most obvious way possible. But Shangwen just says, Lingu, let's begin. Take this needle and disinfect it. He goes straight for the first one on the forehead, saying this point is perfect for getting rid of back pain and even colds. This one on the head regulates his meridians. The protagonist just nods along, saying nothing. While Shangwen keeps giving instructions, Baeksuan is smiling to himself. Then he says, your order is correct, but you still lack strength. Shangwen immediately demands to know who this ignorant brat is that dared to speak. Baeksuan, unshaken, asks if he feels so guilty he can't even look at him. The doctor turns and snaps. Who do you think you are, kid? Young Master Tan, throw this brat out already. It's an insult that he's even here. Tan raises his hand, ready to act, but Baeksuan stops him. You better think carefully. I'm the only one who can save Tan Zhu. If you kick me out now, you lose your only hope. Shangwen pounds his chest and says, you really are an ignorant child. Do you actually think I can't handle this? The protagonist just watches silently, thinking this is the part where they start staring each other down. Does the bet come right after this? And right on cue, that thought is heard by both Churan and Huyo. Then Shangwen points and says, since you're brave enough to speak like that, how about a wager? If you really understand medicine and are so confident, let's see who can solve this first. If this old man's needles cure the master, you'll kneel and bow to everyone here. And you'll kneel and bow to young Master Linghu as well. The protagonist is lost. Why am I getting dragged into this again? I didn't even want to be part of it. But Baeksuan says, fine, we'll make that bet. But what happens if you fail to cure Master Tan? Linghu is terrified. Baeksuan answers for him, if you lose, both of you will kneel to me. Linghu is already picturing himself kneeling. I really am cursed. According to the story, Shangwen is guaranteed to lose. He's missing one page from the secret divine acupuncture technique, the part where he has to let a bit of blood flow to make it work. And the divine doctor doesn't know that. At this rate, Baeksuan's going to crush me completely. But then he thinks maybe it's not the worst thing in the world. Kneeling and bowing isn't that big of a deal. The only bad part is that this bastard will get closer to gathering all the beautiful women as his concubines. But the ones who overhear this are the fiery ones who have no intention of becoming Baeksuan's concubines. At that moment, the doctor inserts the last needle and says all that's left is to remove it. Tan's son tells his father to try getting up. He hasn't felt this good in a long time. The old man says, the pressure in my chest really has eased and even my head feels clearer. Dr. Shangwen truly is amazing. Everyone around them starts praising him, calling him the divine doctor. But Lingyu is confused. Wait, in the original story, this is the part where the old man coughs up blood. And just as he thinks it, Tan coughs up blood. Baeksuan immediately says, well, what's this? Looks like you're not fully recovered after all. Seems you'll have to rely on me now. That so-called divine doctor is a fraud. Tan begs him to act quickly. His father isn't doing well. But Baeksuan just sneers. This is the price you pay for trusting a fake like him. If you had trusted me from the start, everything would have gone perfectly. But you stood by that useless idiot Linghu. And now that you've reached this point, I've changed my mind. When they lose, they'll both have to bow their heads and lick his feet. Both girls are shocked and glance at each other, each realizing the other had the exact same reaction. Churan is furious because she notices Kyu actually seems worried about him. Baeksuan steps beside Churan and says, don't worry, Churan. He's not worth your pain. Kyu, on the other hand, goes straight to Linghu. Baeksuan tells him this is the price he pays for playing with the hearts of these beautiful girls. Kyu just turns to him and asks, who do you think you are? Even Churan doesn't need you. Then Churan herself walks up to Linghu and says she's certain the doctor is incredible. She recalls another time he treated a similar patient and used that finishing technique, one that lets the Zhu point bleed. She's pretending like she just had a brilliant idea, but Kyu knows this girl is faking it. Still, she says she's heard the same thing. That really is Dr. Shangwen's classic technique. While they're talking, Shangwen himself mutters, that's my technique? I've never even used that before. The old lady is coughing blood and the son is panicking, but Shangwen explains that it's just the impurities leaving the body. All we have to do now is let the last drop of blood out and everything will be fine. Baeksuan is uneasy, because that really is the solution. And sure enough, Shangwen presses the final point at the back of the neck. Suddenly, the old man sits up like he's transcending, saying that he suddenly feels as strong as he did back in his university days. He grabs Shangwon and demands to know how he managed to give him so much energy. Bixuan is stunned. How could anyone know this exact technique? One that only I should have mastered. Shangwon turns to Bixuan and says, "Well, boy, have you learned your lesson? You need to kneel and apologize." He even pushes Linghu forward, telling Bixuan to kneel in front of them right now. But Bixuan refuses. He snarls that Shangwon is just a second-rate doctor, and that his method was irrelevant. In the end, you're just a bunch of arrogant fools who don't even know what you're doing. But Shangwon answers, "Call me whenever you want, but I just proved I could heal the elder. And you did nothing but talk." Linghu was just thinking, fine, let them fight among themselves. As long as I stay out of it, I'm good. But everyone around them starts whispering. This Bixuan guy talks big, but he hasn't done anything. Said the doctor was a fraud, but in the end, he cured the elder. Bixuan is seconds away from exploding with rage, thinking that all he has to do is show a fraction of his power and his celestial spiritual flower technique. Staying Churan nearby, he decides it's time. He clasps his hands and suddenly energy begins swirling around him. The crowd gasps. Whoa, this guy's magical. He's the real deal. Another old man watching recognizes it right away. That's the technique of the divine spirit herb. Linghu, meanwhile, is fuming. Look at this bastard. He's just using this display so everyone forgets he's supposed to kneel. Still, he admits it's perfect. Surely Churan and Fuyu must be impressed. But when he glances over, both of them are staring at him. Why are these damn girls looking at me? Shouldn't they be admiring Bixuan's incredible power right now? The two of them lock eyes, and it seems they both realize that each can hear his thoughts. Suddenly, Fuyu clings to Linghu, teasing him. "You naughty thing, always glancing back at me like that." Churan snaps from the background, telling her to stop being shameless. The two girls glare at each other until Xiojun steps forward. Well, looks like Master Bixuan really does have great ability. There's no need for the doctor to humiliate him. Let's just let bygones be bygones. But Shangwon immediately objects. No way, we're not just letting this go. 1 second he's being arrogant, trying to humiliate everyone. And now he thinks he can just lick a shoe and walk away like nothing happened. Xiojun laughs and says, "The great divine doctor is hilarious. Very entertaining. Don't worry, your jokes are great. But how about we just drop this whole thing?" Suddenly, Tanzu interrupts everyone, thanking them for coming and saying he truly appreciates the effort each person has put in. Linghu, in the background, is thinking, damn, the guy got away thanks to Xiaojun. Really is a good little lapdog. He knows that if he, the villain, had lost here, he'd probably have had his legs broken. Bixuan glances around, then relaxes. At least it hadn't been as bad as he imagined. He walks up to Churan and asks, "Are you mad? I know I acted strangely and let my emotions get the better of me. I said things I shouldn't have." But she just steps back, saying he doesn't owe her any explanation. That hits him hard. He grabs her shoulder and says he needs to explain himself. "Yes, I may just be a bodyguard now, but I don't want to stay that way forever. With my skills, I'll give you a life full of wealth and luxury." Linghu is just listening in from the side, his ears practically twitching, catching every word. Bixuan goes on, "I'm doing all of this for you, working hard so I can shine in front of you and give us a better future." Churan asks if it's really all for her. He swears it is. If I had the chance to treat that master with just 3 needles, I'd feel better than ever. Linghu is just thinking from a distance, this guy is really obsessed with power. He lost embarrassed himself and still has the nerve to say it's all for Churan. He's a hell of an actor. Poor girl's probably falling for his little speech like a fool. But she hears every word of his thoughts and suddenly realizes that all of Bixuan's seemingly heartfelt words were just calculated tactics. If not for Linghu, she really would have been fooled. Bixuan asks if she forgives him. Linghu is thinking, forget all the formalities. If she wants to be part of this guy's harem, that's her choice. After all, she wanted to end this engagement too, so fine, even if she was my wife. Just hearing the words "my wife" is enough to make Churan react. Bixuan notices her change and asks what's wrong. Churan's expression hardens and she says, "Didn't we bet that the loser would have to kneel in public? Or are you naive enough to think you can walk away without paying the price?" Bixuan freezes. "What did you just say?" Even Linghu is confused. "Big sis, why are you doing this? We already gave him a way out. Let him leave quietly. Stop provoking him." Churan turns to glare at him. "Stop looking at me. Look at Bixuan instead." She sighs, then looks back at Bixuan. "Didn't we agree the loser would kneel?" Bixuan asks if she really wants him to kneel in front of that trash. Linghu, on the other hand, is wondering if the plot is trying to force itself back into place, dragging everything back to ruin the poor villain's life after he finally managed to avoid disaster. He's squeezing Kyuu's hand without realizing it. She takes it as a sign of affection. Her heart practically skips a beat. Churan notices it too, immediately glares at them before calling out, "Li Linghu Hang, get over here." Bixuan admitted he lost and now he's going to kneel. Bixuan looks confused, but then convinces himself, "Ah, I get it now. Churan just doesn't want me to look like someone who can't keep his word. She's protecting my reputation so people won't think I'm a sore loser." He puts a hand over his chest and thanks her for safeguarding his honor and his desire to be an upright man. Bixuan turns and says, "Come here, Linghu, and make sure you understand, I'm kneeling for Churan, not for you." Then he starts to crouch and our boy panics. "Stop right there." Linghu shouts, pulling Kuyu in front of him as a shield. "No way. If the protagonist of this story humiliates himself because of me, how am I supposed to survive? Kuyu tries to jab him in the stomach, but Linggu just clutches his belly. Owl's stomachache. Then he bolts for the bathroom. Right then, the system appears out of nowhere, congratulating him for surviving another part of the story. Linggu just blinks. Survived? What do you mean survived? Both girls look back just as confused. Suddenly, the entire space warps, and Linggu is sucked into a void. When he opens his eyes, he's lying on a bed. The system congratulates him again, telling him he now has 3 full days to rest and prepare for the next missions. Linggu gulps some water, sits back, and asks how many points he earned this time. The system flashes the number, 2,333 points. Linggu is furious. Seriously? After all that humiliation, that's all I get. The system calmly tells him to relax. They have a fair and precise way of calculating points. Linggu says he gets it, but wants to know how many of these stories I'll have to complete before he can finally return to his real world. The system explains, well, your death in the other world was caused by that falling billboard, so you'll need to buy a resurrection. Linggu immediately asks how much it costs. The system apologizes. A resurrection costs 88,888 points. Right away, Linggu hurls a pill at the system and tells it to disappear. He realizes he only earns 100 points each time he clears a story. At this rate, he'd need to complete around 8,000 stories. And with 3 days of rest between each one, he does the math and decides he might as well just stay dead. But the system urges him not to give up. The better he performs in the missions, the more points he'll earn. Linggu just collapses on the bed. I quit. I don't even want to resurrect anymore. The scene shifts to the Hao family hall 3 days later. With a flash of light, Linggu wakes up, now with long hair, groaning, damn, why does this teleportation hurt so much? Someone points at him and sneers. Look at this trash. Heartbroken over love and reduced to this pathetic state because of the Su family. Looks like we're about to experience another world before going back to the last one. Someone shakes Linggu by the shoulders, telling him to stop acting like that. He's about to throw up. The system chimes in, announcing that the entire story has been synchronized. Today is the day Linggu Hang, the villain of this novel, marries the woman he loves. Linggu freezes, realizing this one is a historical drama setting. The woman's name is Su Ruining. Apparently, their families had arranged a marriage, but at the last minute, he's replaced by the protagonist, some guy named Mingyi. An uncle insists they can't let all their efforts go to waste. Then Tin, Linggu's cousin, says they can't just let that bastard Ningyi steal her away. They should go get the bride back by force. The third uncle, Gang, tells everyone to calm down. And Linggu's father, Feng, says Miss Ruming had been in love with Linggu since they were children. Gang pushes back at his older brother. The Su family broke the promise they made. Why are you being so sentimental? If they don't value the bond between our families, then from this day forward, the Linggu family should cut ties with them completely. But Linggu, now fully caught up with the story, just thinks to himself, are these people idiots? The Su family is about to dominate the entire region's negotiations. That's because Ningyi's future achievements will make everyone in the entire Chuanshan region want to kiss his feet. Punishing the Su family would just be plain stupidity. Linggu is thinking all this, and apparently, this time everyone can hear him. He keeps going in his head. It's not like I'm just losing the first woman I've ever loved. There's nothing wrong with that. Besides, this Ningyi guy seems like a good dude. His family went through a lot, and ours made his life miserable. If he hadn't been pushed this far, maybe he wouldn't be against everyone. At this rate, we're going to become the villains. No, actually, we already are the villains. Everyone is silently listening, starting to realize they just overheard some dark secret. Someone suggests they should all sit down, but everyone is too embarrassed, fidgeting, wanting to leave, quickly changing the subject. Meanwhile, Tian, the blue-haired cousin, is standing there thinking, what the hell is going on? Feng, Linggu's father, asks, why don't we just let this whole issue go? What do you think? Our protagonist turns and says, Father, you agree too, right? Why stress over this nonsense? Let's be the mature ones here, and just wish them a happy marriage. Qian asks, Brother Hang, are you being serious? There are no traitors around, so you don't have to smile so fake and pretend to be strong. Linggu just places a hand on his chest and replies, I am sincere, my friend. I don't need to pretend to be strong. I am strong. Anyway, it's late, so I'm going to take a bath and go to bed. In his head, though, he's thinking, better to just put an end to this whole thing. The more these guys keep thinking, the more mistakes they'll make. I should just get out of here. Once again, everyone hears it and is left looking confused. Shin wonders, wait, was I actually hearing Linggu's voice in some strange way? Then Uncle Gang stands and says, that's enough. Meeting's over. Everyone's dismissed. And that's when Linggu realizes something. His cousin Tian is basically competing with Tofu for being the densest person alive. Feng, the father, on the other hand, is left wondering what just happened. Was my son possessed or something? Back in Linggu's room, he collapses onto the bed, relieved that he finally gets to rest a bit more. But something feels off. Why was the system so quiet today? It didn't say anything weird, just mentioned the plot was synchronized and disappeared. He tries calling out, Moshi Moshi little system, where are you? But there's no response. He's sure something isn't right. The next chapter opens in the gardens of the Linggu estate. A girl is tugging at Tian's arms, begging him to read some books and study with her. But Tian shakes his head and says it's pointless. The books in this place are stupid. I'm not a kid anymore. I don't need to sit around reading. I'm the second young master of the Linggu family. I was born to be superior. Why waste my time with this? Yu insists. You need to learn the wisdom of the sages. It's the only way to stop people from laughing at you. Shen just waves her off. I'm not even going to argue. Give those books to someone who actually wants them. I'm not interested. Meanwhile, our boy is sleeping peacefully in his room when suddenly Tian bangs on the door. Linghu groans. You little bastard, have you no shame? Interrupting my good nap like that. But Tian barges in, saying the ancestors should dig him a grave. How can you be sleeping right now when the whole family is laughing at you? The protagonist just faceplants back onto the bed. And his cousin, who honestly acts more like a cousin sister, keeps talking, saying the comments are brutal. Some are calling you the Su family's disposable trash. Others are saying Rooming would rather marry some broke nobody than you just because you're worthless. And some even say you're disgusting and don't bathe for 10 days straight. The protagonist is thinking, damn, my cousin's tearing me apart right now. Well, he's pretty different, I guess. As the dignified son of the Linzu family and handsome too, his only real problem is that he was spoiled way too much. Shame he's going to spend his whole life drinking and partying only to die miserably when the Linzu family collapses. Poor kid will end up stripped naked, forced to shovel cow dung as punishment from the scholars, with the entire town watching and shouting that it's a pity, but that's what happens when you defy the wisdom of the sages. The boy has potential, but there's no saving him. After that intense monologue, Tian is just standing there frozen, not knowing how to respond. Lingdu waves him off. All right, man, I'm going back to sleep. Why don't you go drink and have some fun? But Tian suddenly shouts that there's no way he's going to have fun. He says he's not the type to play around. Lately, he's been focused on studying. Lingdu is stunned as Tian storms off in tears, swearing that from today onward, he's going to study so hard the books will rip in front of him, and he'll make every scholar respect him. Lingdu just lies there, confused. What the hell is wrong with this guy? But right now, he's more worried about the system. He needs his mission so he can get out of this place. Since there's nothing else to do, he decides to just follow the original story for now, better not to change too much of the future. Not long after, someone knocks on the door, saying he's received an invitation from the Su family. Lingdu asks where the invitation is. The servant explains that a young lady personally came from the Su family to deliver it, and she's inviting him to dinner at Zuixian restaurant. They ask what he wants to do. They can send her away if he'd prefer. Lingdu is so confused, wonders who besides Huoning, the wife who abandoned him, would be looking for him. It seems like someone you should recognize, but the servant is vague. Finally, Lingdu says fine, he'll go. At the gates of the Lingdu family estate, someone's waiting for him. Just seeing her graceful figure, he can tell it isn't Huoning. So who is it? He approaches, straightening his clothes nervously, and says, I heard you invited me to dinner. What's this about? The girl glances back and calls him young master. Linghu freezes. Wait a second. What? Isn't this the same girl from the other story? Both of them are thinking the same thing. Why is it you? Linghu stammers, you, and she raises a brow. You what? She asks why he's so nervous if he hasn't said anything. Huh, something's off. Is this guy pretending not to know me? Linghu awkwardly says, oh, you're the one who brought the invitation for dinner at Zuixian. Right, she answers. Yes, but what was with that? Why are you here? You just muttered? This isn't the first time we've met, so why are you so shocked? Ah, here we go again. Women in these stories are all cunning and way too sharp. Kuryu is already planning to tease him since he clearly wants to play this game. Linghu scratches his neck and says, yeah, it just startled me, that's all. I was just expressing my feelings. For a second, I forgot we were close, practically like family. Kuryu grabs his arm and smiles. What a coincidence. This green outfit looks much better on you than that black one with the gold trim. Linghu freezes. Wait a second. She's talking about the outfit I wore back during the Tan family arc. He starts trembling. System, stop playing around and give me my mission already. Kyubyo is one of the heroines from the other story, the Dragon Sea arc. What the hell is she doing here? She stares him down and says, stop pretending, you scoundrel. You really think I wouldn't recognize you just because you changed clothes? Or are you just bitter because you didn't marry your childhood sweetheart, Miss Huoning? That definitely sounds like the wrong thing to say because the protagonist grabs her right then. And damn, he pulls her close from behind and tells her to stay quiet. He says he'll explain everything, but they need to keep silent for now. Kuryu finds it strange, wondering if he's really trying to hide inside his own house. They start walking together while the people nearby just watch in stunned silence. Linghu's parents are both confused. His father says, are we hallucinating right now? But his mother shakes her head. No, I think I just saw him grab Miss Kuryu right there in the middle of the hall. The father frowns, not understanding when his son got so close to Mao Kyu's daughter. Wang Ji, the mother, says she only just found out herself. Now the father is angry. That brat, doing something like that in broad daylight for everyone to see. But the mother tells him to calm down, not to be so harsh. Miss Kuryu isn't a married woman. Besides, we don't even know what's going on. Better not to ruin anyone's reputation by acting rashly. Moments later, an aunt comes running and shouting that something huge has happened. They have to see this. Apparently, Tian Yi, the same guy who refused to study earlier, is now suddenly determined to pass the imperial exam. The parents are baffled. Shan had never studied a day in his life. Someone is holding a manuscript while he fumbles through it, mumbling something about manifestation. The old man shakes his head, saying the boy doesn't even know the meaning of the word virtue. And then, whoa, look at who's by the window. It's the concubine of this world's version of the protagonist. Ling was just staring like, why would anyone marry someone like that? She, meanwhile, is wondering why Tyan is suddenly trying to study. He's useless. And in her mind, this must just be another scheme to borrow money so he can go out drinking like an idiot. Good thing he's too dumb to actually learn anything, she thinks. Otherwise, he'd probably cause even more trouble. Back with the protagonist. Linghu barricades the door with a plank of wood and demands to know what Kyu is doing here, and why she's suddenly Huining's cousin in this world. Kyu says she has no idea. When we were at that dinner with Bixuan, there was a flash of light and I passed out. When I woke up, I was already here, at Huining's wedding. Linghu is completely confused. Not only did the system disappear, but now it's dragging characters from one story into another. Kyu then asks why he came to the gate to meet her. Didn't you already give up on Huining? Linghu scoffs. You think I'm crazy? Why would I try to steal the protagonist's wife? I'm not that tired of living. Thank God for the writer, right? But Kyu says, that's not how you acted in the last novel. You were secretly sabotaging Bixuan, making him look like a fool while still flirting with Churan, and even teasing me. This throws Linghu off. She just referred to herself like she knows she's a character in a novel. Wait, does she actually know she's a character? And sure enough, Kyu smiles. Yes, she says, I know exactly what you're thinking right now. Linghu blinks. What do you mean? You know what I'm thinking. Then she delivers the blow. I know every single complaint you make. I can hear everything. Linghu starts remembering those weird moments when she'd elbow him and react in strange ways. But once again, he just thinks she must be talking nonsense. None of this makes sense. Except she hears that too and says she's not talking nonsense at all. Seeing this, he can't help thinking that, as expected of the female lead, her smile was amazing. Then she asks him if he really likes seeing her smile that much. He realizes, yeah, that's actually the only thing he likes. That's when it hits him. This girl was actually listening to everything he was thinking. At that moment, he's sure. This must be her system ability, being able to hear other people's voices. Meanwhile, his own system is trash, not developing properly and basically wide open. Kyu just laughs, thinking that if he cares about this that much, then so be it. She puts her hands on his back and asks if he brought her into this room just to stand there silently. The protagonist tells her to quit it and grabs her hand. But she wants to know where the guy went, the one who called her hot back at the hotel. Oh boy, here we go again. The Queen of Spheres doesn't stop launching attacks. What is this, the mechanical bull special? She even asks if he only thinks those things when he looks at her, or if he personally wants to test it out. But he shuts her down, saying, my name might have been Ling who hang in the last story, but I'm not the kid who had some high school romance with you. Kyu just says that's even better. She doesn't care about the idiot who dumped her. What matters is that right now, it's just the two of them here. So what should we call this situation? She asks. Are boys just like, call it what? While thinking this crazy girl is moving her thighs like that on purpose. At this rate, they'd have to limit where this story gets published. Then she shoves him onto the bed and says this is called a lonely man and a widow. Dry wood meeting endless fire. She says it's also called a mountain and she's the rain that's about to pour all over it. Good grief, this girl does not stop. The protagonist warns her girl, whoever plays with fire gets burned, you know, and it's the two of us who'll pay the price. But then she reveals her magic humanoid element spheres and suddenly, the protagonist changes his mind. In this story, Mao Kyo is just some random person. Since Ningyi is busy chasing after the other girl, maybe there's no problem if he has a little fun with Huyo. Okay, so apparently that wasn't even her full sphere attack yet. She says his head is full of weird thoughts. She thought he was just some innocent boy. She barely touches his stomach before he suddenly grabs her waist, flips her, and says, hey, you asked for it. The girl's already standing there sweating, asking if he's really sure if he wants to duel her. It's gonna be intense. The protagonist says he doesn't care. He's going to show her what it means to do whatever he wants in this life. She puts on a fierce expression and says, fine then. She wants to see just how real those words are. Talk about this guy, everyone. After 22 chapters, he finally wins his first brutal fight. Kyu asks what time it is and he tells her she really isn't human. She totally wiped him out. She gets up and says yes, she's a powerful fighter. And now it's time for them to get out of there and go to Zujin restaurant, otherwise everyone will start looking for them. The protagonist looks down at himself and thinks, damn, I'm supposed to meet the male lead of this story, but my legs are weak, my back hurts, I'm covered in scratches and bite marks. I'm a total mess. But she hears that too and cruelly warns him, and if he doesn't get up now, he's going to get beaten again tonight. What a rough life. At Zujin restaurant, the host welcomes everyone, and at the back of the room, there are two girls waiting. The blonde takes one look at our boy. She's tall and blushes a little, saying Linghu Hang's name. The protagonist, completely confused, thinks, what's with this girl looking at me like that? She's married. No way. If her husband suspects anything like we're having an affair, I'll never clear my name in this world. Of course, Kyu hears all of this and the girl already has a tear in her eye. On the right sit the protagonist's parents, and on the left is old Master Su. The parents of Huoning, the blonde, are there too, and even Huoning herself wearing a black top to cover up a bit, since she's built strong. The protagonist apologizes for being late, wondering why everyone's parents are here, including his and Huoning's. His father tells him to stop being silly, stand up straight, and sit down already. Then someone nearby says not to be too hard on young Linghu, who steps forward, the male lead himself, Ningyi. The protagonist thinks, well, look who it is. The legend who's about to shake up this entire business world. Another thought he forgets everyone can hear. Ning Yai is the only survivor of the Ning family. 20 years ago, a huge fire destroyed everything they had. That's when someone from the Su family found him and made sure he would be betrothed to Huaning. Ningyi greets our boy, saying he's heard that Linghu has taken good care of Miss Huaning. Their connection is truly unmatched. It's just a shame they couldn't meet on the wedding day. Well, did he just take a jab at him? What was that? Oh no, this guy's asking for it. The protagonist was about to say, nah, it's all good, while remembering that technically, this story is supposed to feature a protagonist who came from modern times, and now he has no clue if he's dealing with Ningyi from the past or someone from the future. Then Ningyi says, I know there's been a lot of speculation about my marriage to Huaning. That's why I arranged this gathering of all the families, so there's no room for doubt. The protagonist thinks, this guy's clever. He's here to test me to see if I still have feelings for Huaning and also to check if the Linghu family will oppose him. The problem is, Ningyi's about to become the strongest figure in the business world, and opposing him would be crazy. The protagonist lets out a laugh and says, what misunderstanding could there possibly be? That's impossible. You and Huaning are the perfect couple, a talented man and a beautiful woman. I truly hope everything works out between you two. I apologize for not attending the banquet, but I had a stomachache. And really, who made the rule that childhood friends have to get married? Miss Su and I share nothing but a pure and perfect friendship. Ningyi says that a frightened man dies standing, like a saying meaning the guy is completely lost and doesn't understand a thing. The protagonist then asks if he's supposed to be some kind of clown. Suddenly, the two of them stare each other down, then agree it was all just a misunderstanding, smiling and confused at the same time. Huaning doesn't get what's going on, while Kuyu says some things can't be spoken, only understood. Suddenly, Ningyi grabs our boy's arm and pulls him aside, saying they need to have a little chat, that everyone should just enjoy themselves inside. Outside, Ningyi explains that he never imagined any of this would happen. He was a Harvard student who got stabbed in the chest during a midnight robbery when he went out for food and died. The protagonist eats some grass and says, damn, that's one tragic story, huh? Mine's different. I agreed to go on a date with a girl I met online. Thought we'd grab some KFC, but instead I got killed halfway there with a signboard smashed over my head. Ningyi goes on, well, I came to this world and found out I'm some broke orphan living as the adopted son of the Su family. What about you? The protagonist says he's stuck with a villain system that keeps screwing him over. It's basically a curse. He just shows up to get beaten. But Ningyi laughs and says, no way, that's awesome. You're the villain, which means you know most of the story. That's like having your own tutorial. The protagonist replies, it's not that great because all I know is that the entire Linghu family is doomed to die, and then I die too. The two of them fall silent for a moment, then the protagonist asks, hey, Ningyi, you're not planning on killing me, right? You're the big shot here. Ningyi answers, nah, relax. You're the villain, you can give me valuable info and help me out. That's even better. The protagonist frowns and asks, well, what if we change the story too much? I'm supposed to be the villain. This is the story's main plot. Something else might show up to take its place. In his head, he's thinking, where the hell is that useless system? Ningyi then says, considering everything, maybe the real villain isn't you at all. Back inside the restaurant, Huaning wants to know what they're talking about. Could she be the villain this time? She says she's going to find out, and when she steps out, she sees our boy sitting there and stares at him. Seeing his serious face, she already guesses what's happening. There's some kind of confrontation going on between the two. She suddenly grabs Ningyi's shoulder and tells Linghu to just say whatever it is he wants. She might have agreed to the engagement in the past, but that's over. She's with Ningyi now, so Linghu better stop bothering them. Ningyi, puzzled, says, Huaning, I think you're misunderstanding. He doesn't have any feelings for you. It was just a casual chat between friends. The protagonist nods awkwardly, but she doesn't believe it. She says this is the first time they've seen each other, and they only talked for 10 minutes. How does that make us friends? She accuses him of threatening Ningyi somehow, but Ningyi denies it, saying that makes no sense. The protagonist raises 3 fingers and says he can swear right here and now he, Linghu Hang, childhood friend of Huaning, has no impure thoughts about her. If he's lying, may he live a terrible life and die an even worse death. But he's thinking to himself that he can make this oath with no problem. Once his mission is done, he's leaving this world anyway. Huaning still doesn't look fully convinced and asks if he's really being sincere. He says yes, she can trust him. I wish the absolute best for you two in this marriage. There's no way you could found a better man than Ningyi. Look at him. This incredible guy right here is going to take great care of you from now on. Ningyi, a bit embarrassed, just says, yeah, that's right. The two of them still look awkward, while Huaning can't figure them out. Ningyi finally says it's best they head back in and eat. He signals to our boy before leaving, who thinks to himself that thank goodness things finally settled down. He'd secured an alliance with the powerful, so now he didn't have to worry about getting killed. The restaurant was calm when Uncle Tenderness walked in, and Old Man Su greeted Miss Huaning, saying the elder had something to tell her. He immediately asked if they had fought outside. Then he started saying the other kids from the Su family weren't very well prepared. He had no choice but to rely entirely on Huaning. He said he wanted to marry the girl to Linghu, but unfortunately, she wasn't good enough. Basically lying through his teeth. Her father noticed he was throwing shade and said the old man didn't need to worry. Huaning was a smart woman who'd achieve great things and their families would support each other no matter what. Meanwhile, Kubiya was getting winks from the protagonist's mother and had no idea why. The protagonist noticed that his dad was suddenly all buddy-buddy with Mr. Su. Funny, since last night he was cursing the guy right after transmigrating. A bit later, Kuyu kept glancing at our boy while Su thanked everyone for the dinner, saying it was wonderful. Kipyu started to leave, and just then, Ning Yi told our boy to slow down. He said that in a few days, once he was free, they'd need to meet to decide their next steps. They were both staring toward where Kuyu was when she suddenly pulled the curtain aside and signaled for our boy to message her. He thought, "Girl, don't be so shameless. My parents are right here." His mom tugged his ear and told him to get in the carriage now. Inside, the two sat in silence until suddenly his dad said, "Boy, now that things have gotten this far, is there anything you want to tell us?" His mom looked ready to finish him off, while his dad was sitting there acting like the tough one. Our boy didn't understand a thing, but eventually got back to his room exhausted, calling out for the system. It had been 3 days since he started calling that damn thing, and it still hadn't appeared. Then suddenly, voices shouted outside saying the princess had been born. He remembered that the pregnant woman was the wife of his third uncle, the one with gray hair from the beginning. He lay down ready to sleep, but suddenly sat up, remembering that this girl who had just been born was going to be killed that very night. Apparently, this gang guy had multiple wives, and the middle wife wanted to kill this one's child. The protagonist knew that the baby's premature death would crush the mother, drive her to suicide, and affect the uncle too. Basically, it would throw everything into chaos. Since the child had just been born, it would happen any moment now. Right then, he saw an old woman passing by. He couldn't let this baby die. It would spark all kinds of conflict and hurt the entire family. He followed the old woman, who looked suspicious, glancing around as she stared at the baby and said, "What a shame, little one, but you're going to be strangled to death. Good lord." But just then, the old woman heard a noise behind her and turned, only to see the boy flying at her, landing a kick straight to her chest. Thank God he scooped up the baby, holding her tight, and demanded to know why this old hag was running off with the child so late at night. The confused old servant didn't understand how this foolish young master even knew about the baby. She said, "Young master, you're mistaking this old woman for some bad person. I never hurt the baby. I was just taking her to another servant who'll look after her." Lingyu asked, "Are you sure?" She replied, yes, look, she's not even crying. Not crying is a bad sign, and she needs even better care or it could affect her growth." But inside, she was thinking it'd be even better if this child died in Lingu's hands. Then it wouldn't be my fault. She calmly said fine, turned the baby around, and gave her a few smacks until she started crying. He thought to himself that all those stories he used to watch back in his old life really were good for something after all. The old woman runs off yelling that he's out of his mind, and if the baby dies, it'll be his fault. But he just holds the baby, strokes her little foot, and she's fine again. He heads to the room where Princess Chen Yang gave birth. The maids ask what the young master is doing there, but he immediately says he came to bring the baby so the mother can see her. The maids whisper to each other, wondering if he's lost it. Doesn't he know the poor woman's child died and she's in mourning? He ignores them and walks straight in, telling them not to block his path. He approaches the princess while Gang asks what he's doing there. He hands the bag of meat to her, and oh boy, what a mom. Lord have mercy. Everyone thought the child was dead. Gang even says, "Don't worry, if she died, we can just make another one." Sure, makes sense, but our boy says the child isn't dead. Gang tells him to stop talking nonsense. His wife is devastated enough already. Chang orders him to explain exactly what's going on. The protagonist can't believe how clueless she is. The middle wife of unknown origin insists the child died, and if you just accept that, you're an idiot. Probably the pregnancy fried her brain, he thinks. But Chen Yang hears everything. She decides to take a look at the baby, and good lord, the baby's alive, perfectly healthy. She bursts into tears, overjoyed. Gang doesn't understand what's going on. The middle wife clearly said the baby stopped breathing. Chen Yang says that if she said that something suspicious is going on, she's clearly a suspect now. From a distance, the protagonist thinks, finally, they noticed. Now they actually have a chance. Gang goes to take the baby, but Chen Yang smacks him in the chest, saying that while she was weak before and that's over now, he, as the father, was tricked just like the rest of them, and he has no right to get close to this child anymore. Oh boy, here we go. Things just got heated. Gang stares at our boy, who pretends he didn't see anything. Gang eventually just nods and says, fine, he'll do as she asks. He'll leave and give her space to recover since she must be agitated and weak right now. He leaves with a strange look on his face, clearly wondering why that woman wouldn't just let it go. In Gang's study, he writes a report saying Ling Hu Hang interfered with the plan and ruined it, and now Chen Yang even knows about him. He ties the letter to a pigeon, which flies away. The message is delivered to someone in another room, a person with many rings on their fingers, who says they'll have to find another solution. Meanwhile, the protagonist walks up to the mother and says, I'm heading out. But as he leaves, he glances back. Yep, that baby's got plenty to eat. Naughty kid. This guy's one of us, folks. Out on the street, he wonders who's around. Then he spots Ling Gutian, focused on his studies. Not long after, here comes Xiao Taohong, brave as ever, the concubine of our boy's second uncle. Ah, right, not his concubine. He was confused last time. She tells Tian she made him some mushroom soup and he needs to taste it. Tian says fine, she can just leave it there. He'll try it after finishing his studies. But Taohong insists on clearing the table and putting everything there herself. The servant girl comes in, pulling away his brush while Tian complains. The protagonist just watches everything unfold and realizes that for some reason, this woman seems intent on raising this boy to be useless, like she really wants him to accomplish nothing in life. Tian glances around thinking, damn it, who's saying that? And slowly begins to suspect Taohong's real intentions. Meanwhile, Taohong wonders if he's finally moved by her kindness. She walks closer, telling him his eyes are too red and he needs to get more rest. He really should stop reading so much. It's bad for his health. But all that sweetness of hers just makes the guy shiver and want to run back to his room to sleep far away from this weird woman. The protagonist overhears the aunt saying Tyan's been so diligent lately and wonders what's going on. Our boy, curious as ever, pipes up, "Yeah, I want to know too. Why have you been working so hard, huh? Tell us." Shin says he dreamed about the immortals who told him he would be only son of his father in this life. But because he listened to Tao Hong's advice, spent his days drinking, having fun, fooling around, he ended up ruined, killed. His family went bankrupt. Everyone died. The aunt, shocked, covers her face and says, "No, child, I was just worried about your health. Never that." Suddenly she turns, calls Chumlin, and tells her to pack everything up. They're leaving. Shin walks over and asked our boy what he thought. The protagonist congratulates him, saying the kid has really grown up, but we still can't figure out how this brat knows he's there. A few days later, the little system finally shows up. Our boy immediately says, "About time, man, you took forever." In the meantime, Ming has already introduced the idea of modern clothing and started opening his first businesses. Something's off here. Our protagonist tries to figure out who the real villain is since he hasn't done anything yet. But then someone approaches from behind, calling him young Master Han. Oh boy, it's the strong one, the princess with the endless storage. He wants to know why Princess Qin Yang is dressed like that. She answers that if it weren't for him, she and her son would have been separated that night. She came to thank him personally. But he puts a hand on her shoulder and asks why she's acting so formal. They're family, not strangers. And then he thinks to himself, this Princess Qin Yang is probably one of the 3 most beautiful women in the country, maybe even number 1. My third uncle is an idiot for ignoring someone like her just to keep that other woman around. He expected her to be shocked at his thoughts, but instead she's more interested in who this other woman is. The protagonist asks if the princess is okay because she's trembling. Qin Yang finally realizes why the middle wife wanted to take her baby away. That bastard gang was planning to separate mother and child to force her into all this drama. The protagonist thinks about telling her everything but hesitates. Man, my uncle is still working on that plan to cure her illness and kick her out of the family. If I say anything now, it'll break her heart. Of course, Qin Yang starts crying. She says young Hang has been so kind to her and her child. She's not ungrateful. One day she'll repay him when she can. She turns to leave and he's left standing there wondering if he said something wrong. Why did she just walk out like that? Meanwhile, the comments are all saying this protagonist clearly wants to share a little milk time with the baby. But we're back at the Linggu mansion now and the fierce one arrives. She calls Shou Kui and asks if she remembers what she told her that night. Shou Kui says yes, she'll keep an eye on that bastard gang, find out who that lady is that's hanging around him, and report back. Qin Yang says she's heading to the palace, but something feels off. Maybe that lady is actually the one behind everything. Then the scene shifts to the Imperial Palace Hall, where someone puts a flower in the hair of a woman with black hair. Good lord, I think I know where this is going. The woman says the princess has beautiful eyes far prettier than any ornament on her head. The fierce one just smiles, saying that's only natural. So smug. Suddenly, someone arrives announcing that Princess Qin Yang is requesting an audience. Meanwhile, over at the Su family clothing shop, our boy is excited to see how Ming Yai is running things. When he arrives, there's a whole row of copy and paste workers waiting for him, and he immediately realizes just how huge this guy's impact on the world is going to be. The girls offer him a new cloak, but he politely declines, saying not today. Still, they insist, saying such a handsome young master just has to try on some of the clothes. But Linggu is more curious about where Ningyi found so many wild beauties. Then out of nowhere, a piece of cloth falls over his face. Confused, he asks, what is she doing here? Oh boy, it's Qiyu, more dangerous than ever. What the hell? This girl suddenly just throws herself into one of the chairs, asking what he thinks of her outfit. Looking crooked, all he says is, "Sto, you want to do this again?" But she comes at him with a stomping attack, demanding to know why he hasn't contacted her in the past few days. She's brutal, completely crushing our boy. What cruelty. He's there suffering in pain, so he decides to fight back, grabs her arm, and headbutts her while asking if she's going to punish him. And they're doing all this right in the middle of Mingyi's shop. See? Told you. Suddenly, the door swings open. He quickly throws on all the clothes. Oh, that's when Ningyi shows up and says, "Hey, brother Linghu, you finally came." Then adds, "Come here, there's some chaos going on in the shop. Let's go check it out." The protagonist is confused, wondering why this guy is having fun when someone's trashing his store. In the middle of the hall, Huoning is there demanding to know why she should leave Mingyi to go with Murong Yi. Murong Yi says Huoning shouldn't be so angry. He's simply offering for her to come along, but she's acting all high and mighty. He says she married this poor loser, and now she'll have to work every day. She really brought this bad luck on herself. Linghu, seeing this, wonders if this guy isn't acting the way he was supposed to act. At the start of the story, his only role was to keep insulting Ming Ye, but now this guy is taking his place. But Ningyi's furious, saying this bastard is insulting Huoning and is asking for a beating. The protagonist holds him back, telling him to stay put. With Huoning's strength, Murong Hu wouldn't stand a chance anyway. She snaps back, asking if Ning Yai is nothing, then what are you, Murong? A foul-mouthed, pot-bellied, thick-headed idiot. Probably some savage insult in Chinese. We don't even get the reference. Linghu laughs to himself, thinking his wife is fierce, completely humiliating the guy, and is glad there's someone else around to do the insulting for him. Mei agrees, saying she's better at everything she does. But now the protagonist isn't happy. Being friends with a love-struck man is a nightmare. Murong keeps yelling, saying, "Huoning, you filthy woman, the only reason I wanted to marry you was because my family is way better than yours." At that exact moment, Lingu realizes that's exactly what he was supposed to say. It's like the story is correcting itself. Because he took over Lingu's body, all of Lingu's lines and actions got transferred to Murong, who's now shouting and calling her filthy, telling her to stop acting so hard to get. Ningyi loses it, charges forward. The protagonist tries to hold him back, but even so, Ningyi grabs Murong's arm and snaps it instantly. The guards rush in, saying they need to protect the young master, but Murong blocks them, demanding to know who dared to lay a hand on him. Ningyi steps in front of Huoning, asking how Murong dares to insult his wife like that. Murong just leaves in the end. Thought he was going to do something, but nope, only warning them to be ready. People nearby start whispering that Master Linghu just shot himself in the foot. Once again, another scene playing out exactly like the original story. So the obvious happens. Since he's allied with Ningyi, the villain now is Murong. Or maybe, could it be someone else? Just thinking about who the real villain might be and how many possibilities there are feels strange. Right then, Huyu bumps into him and he asks what she's doing there. She asks, "Hey, don't you think Mingyai is kind of weird? This shop he opened is full of modern clothes and his fighting techniques look way too futuristic." The protagonist, a little awkward, asks, "You didn't notice anything else strange?" She replies maybe, but what she's noticed is that this guy really protects his wife, unlike a certain someone. Lingu apologizes and says, "That's just how I am. Unfortunately, I don't know how to be a gentle guy, only a wild one." She snaps at him to stop with the dirty jokes and leaves, saying she's too tired to argue with him. But the protagonist starts thinking. Even though Mingyai is also a transmigrator from modern times, he's still a character from a book created by the author. He himself, on the other hand, came from outside the novel. He didn't exist here before. But Kyuyo, she's different. Why did she transmigrate into this world? She must have some kind of purpose. At noon, our boy glances at the door, sees no one's around, grabs Kyuyo, and drags her into the room. She says they look like criminals sneaking around, while he tells her to stay quiet. Meanwhile, his mother is saying that her son is really capable. He's managed to get involved with the Mao family, without even needing help from the Su family. But then his father drops a huge plot twist. Apparently, the Mao family, Kuyu's family, is a military family connected to a general who supports the second prince. Right now, though, the one holding power over the throne is the first prince, and if he finds out about this, it could cause trouble. Even the protagonist is stunned at this point. His mother says, "Relax, fool. The prince is benevolent. He'll understand." But the protagonist just thinks that women can be way too nice sometimes. His mother insists that they have to take advantage of the fact that the third princess is now in good health. He replies that speaking of her, their third brother isn't exactly a good person. At that moment, Shokui arrives to deliver news to the wet nurse. She went to visit the house of Gang's mistress. Now the wet nurse is staggering, nearly collapsing, but she grabs Shokui's hand and tells her to speak. She'll deal with this. She explains that apparently the other woman gave birth to a daughter around the same time she did. Because Gang was present at the wet nurse's birth, but not the other woman's, the mistress is furious. Gang has promised that the marriage between him and Chen Yang won't last much longer. Soon, he'll leave Chen Yang and be with the other woman instead. The poor woman cries, realizing that if he's making plans like this, it's almost as if he already knows she's going to die. Now she understands that if the baby had died, she really would have been crushed and become an easy target. And worst of all of this was planned by her own husband. She also realizes that none of this happened because Linghu exposed all of Gang's plans. She swears she'll remember his kindness. But she's not the only one. Kyu is also thinking about showing some kindness. Today, though, she's mad. She says if he won't say anything, she's leaving. She's angry because she thought she was being called out for a heated mid-day duel, but instead she's just disappointed. This girl's a real firecracker. The protagonist then says, "I have something to ask you. Did you, by any chance, receive a special mission when you ended up in this novel?" She instantly says, "No." He finds that weird. "Do you have any info about the plot? Do you have a system? What's going on?" Q says, "Are you crazy? I just saw a flash of white light and ended up here. That's it." The protagonist is completely confused. It's way too different from what happened to him. He wants to know where Chu-Ran is. She was one of the female leads, so in theory, she should have appeared in this story too. Kiryu immediately says she gets it now. He's stalling, but it looks like he just wanted to talk about another woman. He tells her to calm down, calls her crazy, and explains he just wants to talk about other characters to figure out what's going on. Kuyu says she's never met anyone in this world named Chu-Ran, and suddenly stops. He asks what's wrong, and she explains that actually the crown princess has a biological sister named Xiao Chu-Ran. Cut to another mansion, and there she is. The fierce one asks if the boy's name is Lingu Hang. The maid says yes, and she smiles, saying she never expected it, but she really will be able to meet him again. Scenes shift to the day of the celebration. Everyone is there congratulating the wet nurse for giving birth to such a healthy little boy. The protagonist's mother comes over. "Congratulations, princess, may many good visitors come to see you." Then she steps closer and asks the obvious question. Where's the father of this kid? Kin Yang says she doesn't care about him. He can die or do whatever he wants. A little later, as everyone is talking about how the sun will be setting soon, the gang suddenly shows up all casual. "Hey, everyone, I'm here. Let me sit next to my beloved wife and this daughter I obviously want in this world." Kin Yang asks, "Why were you late and unprepared to be here on time?" Awkwardly, he says he was prepared. He even brought an incredible gift for his daughter. But she just glares at him and asks if he really thinks a piece of silver is more valuable than his presence at his daughter's side. Apparently, this moment is supposed to decide the child's future. Gang replies that a future made of gold would be too much for a woman to give, so silver is the best option. She throws it to the ground, saying it's ridiculous. He doesn't think his daughter is worth gold. Everyone gasps, staring. Whoa, she just threw it on the ground. Gang panics. Woman, what are you doing? You're drawing attention to us. He says he'll buy another one, but she says it's meaningless. If he didn't buy gold in the first place, nothing else matters. She accuses him of probably buying gold for that other wife of his. Gang starts sweating. She stands and asks if he really thinks she doesn't know. Then she threatens him, warning him to keep the other woman and her child hidden, because the royal family has ways of dealing with this. Gang stands up, furious, asking how she dares threaten her own husband. She used to be so meek, now she's going to get beaten. But from the doorway, they announce the arrival of the eldest princess. Gang freezes while the protagonist spits out his drink. Outside, soldiers are lined up, clearing the way. The fierce one walks in, and the protagonist already knows this is the troublemaker who shares the same name. When he opens his eyes, there she is, no more suspense. She waves playfully at him, and everyone starts whispering. Wait, the princess knows Lingu? Since when are they so close? What's going on? The protagonist is fuming, pacing back and forth. Churan is here, Kuyu is here. Any minute now that bastard Bixuan is probably going to show up too. He goes to Kuyu and asks, do you know a Bixuan in this world? She says no. Then Churan presents a jade ring as a gift for the baby. Chen Yang says it's too precious. There's no need. Churan replies that it's to wish the child a bright future. Everyone starts talking, amazed. Wow, the little girl is being blessed by the great princess. Her future is really bright. Gang slams the door and storms out, shouting that his Dan wife is making him look like a fool in front of everyone. He sends out a bird while swearing, my beautiful daughter, when you grow up, everything they've stolen from you, I'll give it all back. If that bird made it, it was supposed to warn the other woman, but the bird gets shot down. Damn, Xiao Kui grabs the message. She runs straight to Chen Yang, telling her that Gang was trying to contact the second prince. Meanwhile, Churan is glowing, and all the simps are gathered around her. Everyone's saying, Princess, you never come out in public, but you're amazing. The protagonist stands nearby thinking this is unbelievable. Churan was really here, actually this world's princess. Now it makes sense, that's why his system hasn't been showing up. It must know it's caused complete chaos and that this story is a total mess. Even though the Lingyu family won't be destroyed by the Su family anymore, their fate is still doomed. They'll end up destroyed anyway by their own incompetence. That's because they'll ally with the crown prince, who's going to get completely wiped out by the second prince, dragging the entire family down with him. The eldest princess is one of the crown prince's supporters, and now the protagonist doesn't even want to get close to her. Eldest princess equals crown prince equals everyone starving and his family collapsing. And then, oh, they changed the speech bubbles. Everyone hears his thoughts. The whole room is shocked. The protagonist just sits there thinking, what do? I don't want to die. How am I supposed to stop this? Maybe if lightning struck the second prince's head, that would be the best solution. But no, that'd be absurd. What about starting a rebellion? They just need to make sure the second prince dies first, then nobody would harm the Lingyu family. Wait, everyone must be hearing this. Even his parents are staring at him. They're asking, Lingyu boy, what the hell are you thinking? He just covers his face and mutters, if the second prince dies, everything's solved. Better than starting a rebellion. His parents exchange looks. Our son's gone crazy. Later that night, everyone waves goodbye to the princess as she leaves in her carriage, while our boy heads to his room thinking that tomorrow he'll figure out how to deal with all of this. But when he lifts the pillow, look who's waiting for him. It's the fierce one. He blurts out, you crazy woman, weren't you supposed to be in the carriage? She says, yes, but I just slipped out, climbed the wall, and here I am. Lingu's getting suspicious now. He asks if she can hear his thoughts too. She asks if he means the ones in his head, and right then he realizes she can hear him. She confirms it. She knows everything about the rebellion he's planning and about killing the second prince. He crosses his arms and says he isn't a bad person. He just wants to survive. This story is brutal. She replies that he's an idiot, coming up with all these schemes but forgetting about her. Right now, she's the eldest princess. If the crown prince is going to be destroyed by the second, obviously she'll be dragged down too. So why not join forces? Lemu thinks to himself, girl, I know that's a good idea, but your life is full of drama and it'll just bring disaster my way. But of course, she hears that, stands up, and says he can think whatever he wants. She offered casually, but you better not forget that she's the eldest princess. If she speaks to the emperor, she could force a marriage anytime she wants. Our boy is crushed under that truth, throws the bottle aside, and tells her to think twice about this. They should step back and look at this situation logically. First off, their relationship is just that of characters in a story. They don't even really know each other. So why is she talking about marriage? Besides, they don't have to get married. They could just be friends. But suddenly, something falls into his hand. Churan was crying. He's completely confused. Why are you crying? Stop crying, I was just kidding. Actually, yeah, we really could help each other out, right? That would be amazing. And it's not like I don't want to marry you because of you. It's just that you're ranked higher than my uncles. It would be weird for me to marry someone above them. The whole family hierarchy would get messy. They keep trying to come up with excuse after excuse, but Churan just says it's fine. He can do whatever he wants. She's leaving and will tell her father that he plans to rebel and kill the second prince. Tomorrow, the entire Lingyu family, including him, will be executed. She might not have hard evidence, but her father loves and trusts her, so she's sure his family won't be spared. Her tears are because she was heartbroken knowing everyone here was about to die. The protagonist just stands there, lost. Then suddenly he grabs her and says he's changed his mind. Marriage sounds amazing. He's a young man full of energy, so why not get married right now? And she, full of energy herself, grabs him by the waist and says he needs more motivation. Inside, the protagonist thinks, Churan, you can hear me, right? I don't even know what to say out loud, so I'll just think what's in my heart and let you hear it. I already belong to Qiyu. And in this world, she's the granddaughter of General Mao Shun. I met her way before I met you. I already have a relationship with her, and yeah, we've already done that, so maybe we should keep a bit of distance. Churan slaps him across the face. Our boy is almost crying. She shouts, you bastard, do you think this is some kind of reward? This is a punishment. You don't get a choice. What the hell? The protagonist is being thrown to the wolves. He stammers, asking what she means by punishment. Churan says, don't forget, the Mao family is connected to the second prince. That makes you a traitor too, and that's why you'd have to be punished. Damn, this girl is ruthless. Look at this, people, it's gone full Dragon Ball Z mode now. Fights and Dragon Balls on the line. This poor guy, good luck surviving this. She pulls him into a spider-like hold. He's trapped. No way out. And then she says he's not even fast or strong enough to handle her. Wow, humiliating him in the middle of the fight. Are you gonna just take that, protagonist? This is insane. It's like the fight with Frieza, took countless chapters and action scenes. And now we're already on the next day. Our protagonist, being an honest guy, even picked up her armor afterward and returned it to her. She thanks him, saying that if she'd known he'd be this obedient after a fight, she would have fought him sooner. She leaves the room saying there's no need to escort her, he's already served his purpose. Our poor boy, all beaten up, just thanks her for the company. She starts walking away, but turns back and tells him to get ready. What they didn't win before must be won now, and she'll be waiting patiently for him to marry her. And the worst part? When she jumped over the wall last night, the entire family happened to be standing on the bridge for some random reason and saw everything. His father already suspects something big is coming. Meanwhile, his mother is losing it. Why did the princess come out of my son's room? The father wonders, could it be those mysterious words everyone heard that caused this? The aunt agrees, and now everyone is looking at each other, asking if they heard it too. Did you hear it too? The mother relaxes a bit, saying, thank goodness. I thought I'd gone crazy. I was hearing his voice without him even opening his mouth. That's when the father says he noticed something strange. When their third brother, Gang, is nearby, he doesn't react to Lingu's thoughts. It's like he can't hear them at all. The father then pauses to think. Young Lingu really is a good kid. Every thought he has is about helping the Lingu family. They just have to remember what happened when that whole incident with Mingyi went down. Instead of getting upset and accusing Mingyi of stealing his childhood fiancé, he simply accepted it and even supported him. That way, the Lingu family managed to avoid a huge disaster. On the other hand, the third brother is still ambitious and keeps scheming to bring the family down. Maybe the ones who don't want what's best for the Lingu family are the very people who can't hear his thoughts. Damn, everyone in this world is getting way too sharp, smarter by the minute. Shang agrees that it makes sense, but says they'll need to test it first. Now they're fully determined to do it. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a messenger bird arrives and someone discovers that the eldest princess stayed at the Linghu mansion, and that she knows Linghu Hang. Could it be Bixuan? Right then, the door opens and it's the second prince, Xiao Chang's. He says, Master Bixuan, just as you predicted, the general with him really is a traitor and has been secretly siding with the crown prince. Thank you for warning me. Here comes this bastard again. Bixuan replies, I'm just a humble servant and don't deserve the credit. The fact that the second prince chose me proves how decisive and intelligent he is. The prince sits and tells him not to worry. When he takes control of the empire, Churan will be given to him as a wife. And on top of that, he'll allow him to keep Kuyu as a concubine, the granddaughter of the general. Looks like Chang's already noticed Bixuan has his eye on them both. The fool drops to his knees thanking him. Good grief, this guy really works hard for women. Bixuan, though, is thinking, this prince is an idiot, just another pawn in my game. I, Bixuan, was sent to this world. How could I ever stay beneath anyone? I want the woman, I want the world, and I'm going to make it all mine. Next chapter, both the protagonist and Bixuan receive the imperial decree. By order of the emperor, he hasn't even started reading and the protagonist already panicking while Bixuan is raging inside. Obviously, now everyone knows about Churan's engagement to our boy. Chang's the second prince is confused, saying it makes no sense. How could the princess just suddenly get engaged like this? The Lingyu family are just merchants and Lingyu Hang is just one of their descendants, not anyone special. Bixuan, though, already knows the name and says that bastard must have done some trick. Could it be that Lingyu Hang's soul is the same as Lingu's from the other world? Now it makes sense. He puts his hand to his head, saying that this guy is a curse following him. The prince is sitting there trying to figure out what this lunatic is talking about. Then he says, Bixuan, relax. We have plenty of time before the wedding date, right? Tell me, what do you suggest? Bixuan explains, in a few days we'll host a flower viewing banquet. All the ministers will be there with their families. If we pull some strings and make Lingwu humiliated and disgraced, that marriage will definitely be called off. Bixuan sits down thanking his highness, and honestly, even though transmigrated, he's letting himself get played by the second prince. Completely pathetic. He deserves every bit of humiliation coming his way. Meanwhile, Kumyu is speeding through the halls while people tell her not to enter without permission. Shuran goes out to meet her and asks what she's doing there. Kumyu storms in saying, "Your Highness, you're acting way too much like a concubine this early in the game." Shuran instantly realizes that this girl must be here for Linghu too. Kumyu says they'll just have to see who he really chooses. Meanwhile, back at the protagonist's house, a father is asking, "Where's the princess? Why hasn't she arrived?" Someone informs him that she and the girl from the Mao family met up and are both on their way to see Linghu. And now the whole family is in shock. Cut to our boy, completely lost, with both girls in his ear asking him who he's going to choose. Oh boy, the fight is intense. Shuran strikes first, saying, "Kuyu, don't forget that your family is loyal to the second prince, and you want to be with someone from the Linghu family? There's no way they'll agree to that." But Kuyu fires back, "My grandfather loves me more than anything in the world. I can choose whoever I want to be with, and he'll agree instantly." Shuran grabs the protagonist and says that even so, Kuyu's family is second class. She is the daughter of the great prince, and now that she has a guaranteed marriage, how could Kuyu possibly compete with that? Kuyu pulls back and warns her to be careful because her grandfather commands 500,000 heavy cavalry, way better than any marriage arrangement. This was about to turn into an all-out war. The protagonist is right in the middle of all this, completely overwhelmed. Then he suddenly seems to get an idea. He asks, "Wait, how many troops did you just say?" She hesitates and says, 500,000. He starts doing the math in his head and says, "If that's the case, then I have to ask, why don't you just become the emperors of this place?" At that moment, he finally understands why the second prince can even compete with the first. Kumyu says he's finally realizing how powerful the Mao family is. That's exactly why she can stand against Churan. But Churan just mocks her, saying that in every story, Kuyu is always the girl with the lower status. In the last story too, she was already connected to Linghu, but in this one, Churan has the marriage guarantee, making her the one in control. Kuyu says that doesn't matter because she's the one who's had intimate contact with him, unlike Churan. But the fierce princess winks and asks if she's sure about that. The two of them are practically butting heads now while the protagonist tries to slip away, only to get metaphorically shot with an arrow as they both demand an explanation. He shouts, "It was both of you who forcefully took my purity." Kuyu then grabs him and says, "Don't worry, with 500,000 troops, this marriage can be cancelled and nothing will happen." Churan says she's going too far. Right then, the imperial decree arrives for both of them. The protagonist thinks, "Thank goodness, something to distract them. At least I'm saved for now." But it turns out to be official invitation for the flower viewing banquet that the second prince had mentioned. 2 days later, they arrive at the event. As soon as the protagonist steps out of the carriage, his system finally shows up with a flood of notifications. He gets excited, he's missed his little buddy, but the system is blasting him with serious warnings saying there's an error, something is wrong. Suddenly, he's hit with a splitting headache, convulses, and drops to the ground like a rock. Sometime later, he wakes up in a daze lying in a bed. Churan tells him he passed out for half an hour. He has no idea what happened or where he is. She says this is her room. She brought him there because he fainted in the middle of the street. And just then, the second prince is announced. Churan asks if she should let him in, but the protagonist quickly says no. It would look insane if people saw him lying in her bed. But before they can do anything, the man himself walks in, asking where his sister is going and why she's trying to send him away when he just arrived. Meanwhile, Bixuan collapses to the floor, greeting the princess. The protagonist still doesn't realize who he's looking at, but feels that he looks strangely familiar. Cheng smiles and says, "Ah, so this is why my sister's been acting so secretive. It's because you're here." Then he glances to the side. "Hey, Master Bixuan, why are you kneeling there? Get up, you're fine." Bixuan thanks him while staring straight at Linghu, and at that moment, Linghu finally realizes who he is. In the very next second, he's wondering why this damn Bixuan transmigrated too. All three of the troublemakers from the other story ended up here with him, all because of a system error. And the worst part, the story he's in right now is completely messed up. He doesn't even know if he'll be resurrected if he dies this time. He also notices that even Churan seems a little unsettled. The second prince sits down, tells Bixuan to sit as well, then says, "Sister, I know father loves you, even lets you choose your husband, but you can't just have this guy without a title lying in your bed out of nowhere. Everyone will say it's shameful." Churan calmly tells him not to worry, explaining that Linghu had fainted and she just brought him here to rest. The bastard laughs and tells her to relax, saying he's only worried about her. Then he says, "Master Bixuan, aren't you skilled in medicine? Why don't you give Linghu a diagnosis?" But right away, Churan steps in front of him and asks what Bixuan thinks he's about to do. The protagonist is a bit stunned. Is this fierce girl really going to confront him head-on? Bixuan, looking awkward, says, "Miss, please allow me to diagnose Master Linghu. It would be an honor to treat someone so important." Then, almost in a whisper, he warns her, "Churan, this is the ancient era. A woman who hides her man like this will end up locked in a pigpen." Yeah, probably another weird old saying. She's still confused while Linghu thanks him but says he's fine. Still, he wants to know what illness he might have. Inside, though, he's thinking that Bixuan's going to get what's coming to him. He's been through enough stories to know. Linghu then asks, "Churan, what do you think would happen if Bixuan tried to treat me and failed?" She replies that would be very dangerous. Claiming you can cure anything, but failing to treat someone connected to the imperial family could land you in prison. Then she asks her brother, "Who exactly is this man next to you called Bixuan? I've never heard of him, and now you've brought him here with an official title." The prince simply says that Jing Bixuan is his advisor. Meanwhile, the protagonist swallows a pill, a reward from a previous story in the Wulong continent. It contains a high level of magical poison that cannot be detoxified in just any world. When he reaches a point of no hope, he plans to take the antidote and see what happens. Shuran then reminds her brother that the only men allowed to walk around this part of the palace are eunuchs, unless they have special permission. She asks, almost teasingly, is this Bikshun a eunuch? Her brother can't figure out why she's being so stubborn today and excuses himself, saying he'll go speak with the emperor, but they should treat Lingyu before he gets worse. Right then, the protagonist coughs up blood, splattering it all over the carpet. Even the prince is shocked. He didn't think the kid was this bad off. Shuran rushes to him. Hey, are you dying? What's happening? Are you faking this? The protagonist, pale and shaking, says, Princess, I'm really not feeling well. Please, let Bikshun treat me. Shuran immediately calls Bikshun over. Our boy lies back down, begging for a diagnosis, thinking this damn poison is way worse than he imagined. Now more than ever, he needs Bikshun to analyze him quickly. He's ready to use the antidote if he has to. Bikshun studies him, thinking, what's wrong with this kid? A second ago, he looked fine, and now he seems close to death. His pulse keeps floating and sinking like no ordinary sickness I've ever seen. Could he have been poisoned by something extremely rare and complicated? The protagonist looks him straight in the eye and asks, Master Bikshun, can you save me? He takes a look, exhales deeply, and says that unfortunately, Master Linghu won't survive the night. Shuran grabs him by the collar and demands that he explain himself. He calmly repeats that it's just as he said. She could go to any doctor in the region, and they'd all say the same thing. She asks if he's not going to treat him, wondering what on earth happened to Linghu. But out of the corner of her eye, she notices a faint smirk. Now she's sure. This kid must have used some strange technique. Still, if he really does die in the end, she swears she'll dig up his coffin and whip the body. Shuran warns Bikshun that he's failed to do what he promised, but he explains that yes, he's a great doctor, but that doesn't mean he can save everyone in the world. The protagonist sits up and asks, Bikshun, are you absolutely sure I'm going to die? Bikshun replies, unfortunately, boy, I can't save you. Whatever you have is beyond comprehension. You will die tonight. Inside, Bikshun is practically celebrating, thinking, I never imagined this idiot would die without me lifting a finger. Once he's dead, Yu and Shuran will both join my harem. The protagonist laughs and says he must be a fraud. He's sure that anyone Bikshun met before could be cured by him. Bikshun snaps back, stop deluding yourself, kid. Better start preparing your funeral. Linghu, however, is thinking, Bikshun, you really thought everything would go your way in this story too? You might be skilled and well prepared, but your problem is your arrogance. This isn't the same world anymore. Bikshun stares him down and declares that by tonight, he'll be burned and dead. The protagonist just smirks, excuses himself, and says he needs to rest. Shuran agrees and asks everyone to leave. Cheng says of course. He'll leave to give the dying boy some peace. But before going, he adds that Prince Duki will be attending tonight's banquet. Shuran doesn't react much and Bikshun leaves, the door slamming shut behind him. Right away, Shuran grabs Linghu and demands to know what he did and why Bikshun couldn't cure him. In the original story, Bikshun was supposed to have incredible medical skills. The protagonist tells her to relax. He just took a little poison to mess with the guy. Shuran is worried sick. Yep, she's totally falling for him. Then he pulls out the antidote, drinks it, and says that'll detoxify him. Besides, she should be worrying about herself, not him. After all, Chang's mentioned that the Prince of Tai is coming to see her. Obviously, he's going to bring a marriage proposal. Shuran, confused, asks why he's saying that. She has her father's permission to choose whoever she wants to marry. The protagonist explains that only lasts until the Prince of Ki shows up. When someone that powerful from another country arrives, her father will decide for her. They'll marry her off to form an alliance between nations. She should have watched more classic dramas. This kind of plot twist always happens. Even the deepest love between parents eventually gets turned into a political bargaining chip. Shuran shouts, you bastard. If you knew all this, why didn't you tell me? He explains that the story keeps changing with all these extra people appearing. There's no way to know exactly what will happen next. She stands up furious, declaring she will never accept a political marriage. The protagonist grabs her hand and says he's not asking her to accept it. She just needs to watch what she says. After all, the walls may have ears. He leans closer and whispers, be careful. There are probably spies from the second prince here. Shuran, still lost, asks, then what do I do? Cry. Make a scene, hang myself. He says none of that will work. There's always another way. Suddenly, she brightens up, saying she has a plan. And her plan? Work hard and get pregnant. With her pregnant, there's no way the guy would still want to marry her. The protagonist blurts out, you crazy woman, what kind of idea is that? I'm already half dead here and you want to speed up my death. But she tells him to relax, she's not going to let him die. The protagonist realizes once again that she's listening to his thoughts. She tells him that if he's going to complain, he might as well say it out loud since she's going to hear anyway. He admits it was just his subconscious complaint and says he'll be more careful. But that plan of hers to get pregnant is insane and will probably just end with his whole family being executed. Plus, women in this dynasty can still marry and even remarry after being widows for 3 years. Even if she does get pregnant, they'll just make sure she never gives birth, and in the end, she'll still have to marry that guy. The big princess, who's only growing more imposing by the day, wants to know what exactly they're going to do then. It took me 5 reads to process this, but he explains that her elder brother is crazy about her. If he takes the throne, there's no way he'd let her be handed over to another country. And Bixuan may be serving the second prince for now, but there's no way he'll stay in that position. He wants to build his own harem. And then there's Ningyi, who is technically supposed to be the transmigrator of this novel, which means this whole thing is a complete mess. The protagonist is basically planning to stir things up, turn the whole game on its head, and take the throne for himself, or maybe for the both of them. Chu-Ran calls him by name and sweetly says he better not disappoint her. The protagonist remembers that Chu-Ran likes strong men, which might explain why she fell for Bixuan in the other story. Maybe she really is the same person and actually fell for him again. One thing he's sure of, as long as he's in this story, he won't let her down. But if he's eventually forced to leave, there won't be much he can do about it. He still doesn't fully get her plan, but all they can do is see how things play out. The poison is gone, and he says it's time to grab some drinks. If anyone asks, they'll just say she healed him. And their entire conversation has to stay secret, because he still needs to investigate things with QU. She gets mad, telling him to stop talking about that girl, but he explains that she commands 500,000 troops. He can't just ignore that. She makes him swear he's doing this for the troops and not for her personally. The protagonist is a little lost, and she throws him down, saying he can look at her. Just not right now. Man, she completely ruined his plans. She says she's going to drain him of every last bit of strength, so he won't have the will to do anything with her afterward. The protagonist just sees her villainous grin and thinks to himself that this woman is way too much to handle. Meanwhile, across the city, someone asks, Master Bixuan, is it true that Linghu is really sick? Bixuan says, yes, you can believe it. But then he hesitates for a moment, because that kid, even while sick, looked way too confident. Could he have misdiagnosed him, or is there something more going on? He turns to the prince and says, I don't know. I feel like something's wrong. Linghu is extremely cunning. This has to be a gamble. He must have some plan. Chang's laughs and asks, so what are you going to do about it? Bixuan replies that even if Linghu says he's going to survive, he'll personally make sure the boy is dead within 3 days. Chang asks what exactly he means by that, and Bixuan says just that. The trash needs to be killed. Chang laughs again and says, fine, have it your way. Good luck with that. But there was a little servant nearby who heard every word. After our boy has all of his strength drained by the demon princess, she tells him not to pretend he doesn't know her now, not after everything that just happened. He snaps back that she should stop throwing the blame on him. She's the one who started all of this. She already knows by now that he's not the same Linghu from the other story who used to like her. But this fierce girl doesn't stop. She says that no matter the dimension, he's still going to belong to her. The protagonist replies, fine then. If you want to try to win me over, good luck, but I'm not going to be anyone's dog. She says he can talk tough all he wants, but she knows he finds her attractive. She's heard him think it countless times in the previous life. He tells her to stop listening to his thoughts, but she just taps him under the chin and tells him to think carefully. He better stop resisting so much. She knows exactly how interested he really is. The protagonist brushes her hand away and says that his strongest point isn't his mind or his words. That's why it's better for her to stay quiet. He's about to help take care of his whole Prince of Kei situation. Meanwhile, that servant who overheard everything is talking with the Emperor. The Emperor glances to the side and sees Chang's, who calls over his brother Huang and offers him a drink. Huang says it's good to see he arrived so early, and they take a sip together. Chang's then asks, brother, what do you think about Chu-Ran's boyfriend? Guang frowns and says that his sister would never act like that. Where did he even hear such a rumor? Chang says he's fallen behind on the gossip everybody knows. Apparently the boy's name is Linghu something and their sister even let him sleep in her bed. Huang doesn't look pleased while he's hearing this. Chang adds, hey, don't give me that look. Maybe he's not her husband, just a lover. Who knows? She's not a child anymore. The Emperor then tells him to just say what he came here for. Chang finally reveals that their father is planning to give Chu-Ran's hand to the Prince of Kai, which will weaken them within the family. Huang isn't sure if he's being threatened or what Chang's is trying to say. But Chang's just says he would never threaten him, he's just warning his dear brother. Who knows what unfortunate things might suddenly happen to him otherwise. Huang clenches his fists, gets up like he's about to storm out to see Chu-Ran, but then suddenly sits back down. Chang smirks. The Emperor just looks confused, wondering if Huang really isn't going to do anything. Then he says that whether she marries the Prince of Shui or not is still unknown, so for now, we don't have to worry about it. Chang says that's fine then. He'll tolerate it and doesn't really care. He heads back to his room saying he's going to enjoy the view here since it's so comfortable. But as he leaves, it's clear the Emperor isn't calm at all. He can't believe Linghu is actually his sister's lover, and even worse, he can't understand how he never knew about it. Meanwhile, the protagonist is thinking, man, the second prince left and now the other one is staring right at me. I really hope no new storm of trouble is coming my way. It's already hard enough staying alive in this world. He calls for the system, looking for some guidance or support, anything, but nothing happens. The protagonist can't believe that the only weapon he has left against the true protagonist is money. Then it clicks. Ningyi was supposed to be the protagonist, but now he's his friend. And the new enemy is Bixuan, who according to Linghu isn't that smart. Damn, he's roasting Bixuan hard. Apparently, he's decided that since he didn't deal with him in the previous life, he'll have to finish the job in this one. He's deep in thought when the gorgeous one shows up, asking why he's just standing there like that. He's confused and asks why she's here. She reminds him that he should know by now how many troops she has. She can go wherever she pleases. She gets close and asks what woman's perfume he's wearing, and he just says straight up, it's Chu-Ran's. She asks if he's not even going to try to hide it anymore. Meanwhile, Bixuan is thinking, perfect. Miss Mao has finally realized that this Lingu is a shameless bastard. He's already imagining himself saying, "Girl, my heart is all yours. I don't care about any other woman." Then in his mind, "God, you're so beautiful, Bixuan. Give me a kiss." But Kuyu wants to know how far he's gone with Chu Ran, and the protagonist admits he went all the way. That's it. Kuyu bursts into tears, totally shaken. She says she can't believe he chose the wife who hates him. The protagonist replies that Chu Ran is a princess and he's just a merchant. She could have his head cut off at any time. He has no choice but to obey. Kuyu asks if everything was forced and not voluntary. He's about to say yes, but also asks why the two of them are so obsessed with him. Sure, they're in the same story, but who knows if they'll even see each other again in another story or if they'll still exist together at all. So why do they want him so badly? Kuyu says there's nothing wrong with liking him. And where's all that energy he used to have? Just because his little system broke and he doesn't know what's going to happen in the future, that doesn't mean he can just shut down like this. No matter what happens, she says he's responsible for her. The protagonist warns her that love is nothing but trouble. Women only slow down the speed of his sword. She doesn't really get what he means, but he just hands her a cup and says that he's already told her he won't take responsibility for anyone. In this world, he's living as someone who could be killed at any moment. Does she even know what it means to be cannon fodder? She says yes, she watches Netflix. He says that's exactly why he refuses to be responsible for her. Kuyu tells him to relax, he's got all kinds of power and knowledge of the story. Plus, she has 500,000 troops. He's safe for life. She says that in marriage, she could even offer all those troops as her dowry. He says there's no way her grandfather would agree to that. But she says if he promises to stay with her and ignore Chu Ran, she'll find a way to make him accept. And right then, the succubus barges in, telling Kuyu to stop trying to steal her man behind her back. Kuyu stands up and asks if the great princess is scared. Chu Ran snaps back that she's not afraid of someone as weak and useless as her. And just like that, the two start fighting. Both of them insult the protagonist while fighting, saying that if he chooses wrong, they'll cut off his head. Bixuan is watching and thinking, "Good, Chu Ran, you've finally woken up. The two of them are going to finish this guy off soon, and after that, they'll both be in my harem." Meanwhile, the Emperor sees all this and thinks that Chang's is trying to stir up conflict. He can't afford to fall into these traps. Then suddenly, Chu Ran rushes over and sits next to the Emperor, who glances at her and sees her taking a big gulp of wine. He tells her to calm down a little, but she immediately asks him if he'd do anything for his little sister. He says yes, he promised their mother that she comes before everything else. She smiles and says perfect. Then she asks him to become emperor as soon as possible. He agrees at first, but suddenly freezes. I thought he was already the emperor, but I guess he's just first in line for the throne. Before he can recover, Chu Ran tells him not to get so flustered. She's only asking something simple. Why doesn't he want to do it? He looks over his shoulder and is just glad their father isn't here to hear this, saying, "Have you forgotten father is the one on the throne? You can't say things like that." But Chu Ran replies, "Father wants to marry me off to some man from a foreign country and separate us. We'll never see each other again. When I'm alone in that distant land in the hands of strangers, what will you be able to do?" The Emperor hesitates, saying, "You're right, that's not fair." Chu Ran presses on, saying she's not asking him to make a decision right now. She just wants him to convince their father to give up on this marriage plan. That would be best for everyone. Watching from a distance, Chang's notices that the Emperor looks a bit uneasy while Chu Ran stays calm. Something strange is definitely going on. Right away, he says, "Hey Bixuan, you idiot. Those two are hiding something." Bixuan, as smug as ever, replies the princess is probably complaining about Lingu's behavior. But Chang's doubts that. The princess would have to be possessed to complain about her concubine, someone who, in theory, she should only be using for her own pleasure. Bixuan, however, seems excited, saying that if she really hates the guy, this might be their chance to get rid of him for good. Chang's warns him to keep his voice down. If anyone hears that, they're both dead. At this point, he's starting to realize just how strange Bixuan really is. Suddenly, someone calls for the Emperor and they quickly leave. Chang's already knows something strange is about to be announced out of nowhere. And sure enough, someone is already telling the Emperor that Bixuan made some shady comment and that they should hurry up and deal with him. The first prince is left wondering what's going on and what's about to happen today. Then suddenly, someone announces that His Majesty has arrived. Everyone bows and wishes him long life. The real Emperor takes his seat and tells the ministers to calm down. Today, they're welcoming the Prince of Kai to restore friendship between the two nations. The prince says it's an honor to stand here before His Majesty and this whole assembly. Everyone raises their cups to toast, and after a sip, someone fills his cup again. He grins and says, "Chu Ran, beautiful as ever, let's clink our glasses." But the fierce princess just takes her own cup, drains it in one go, and sits back down, saying her cup is already empty. The Prince of Kai sees this, he just got completely brushed off. Meanwhile, the Emperor looks puzzled. He knows the Prince of Kai isn't just from a powerful nation, but is also famously handsome. Most women like him, so why is Chu Ran acting this way? He finally says, "Prince, I heard you're not married. You already have someone in mind." The prince admits that yes, in theory, there is someone he admires deeply. He glances straight at Chu Ran. Chu Ran's thoughts are screaming, "Damn it, don't look at me." The Emperor, on the other hand, thinks this is perfect. An important man is interested in his daughter, which could secure the northern border. He immediately says, "Prince, if I were to give you my daughter, what would you say to that?" The prince lights up with excitement. "Are you serious, Your Majesty?" But just then, someone loudly objects. Everyone in the room freezes, wondering who dared to speak against the Emperor's words. At first, it seems like it had to be Churan. Our protagonist and his gorgeous companion tense up, but no, it wasn't Churan. It was Kuyu who boldly tells His Majesty that she strongly opposes this marriage. Bigshun is fuming. He was going to object, but the girl beat him to it. The Emperor orders Miss Mao to state her reasons. She calmly says that the star of her military family revealed that Churan is the reincarnation of a powerful military star. As a future guardian of the nation, if she were sent away to another country, it could cause serious problems in the future. Chengzi is completely confused and wonders if the general's daughter has lost her mind. She's staring the Emperor down right there in the hall, while Kuyu remains unfazed and just asks His Majesty to reconsider. Bigshun wants to intervene, but for now he has no choice but to stay quiet and see how this plays out. Meanwhile, the protagonist is thinking, damn it, she heard my thoughts again. He was just about to come up with some superstitious story to scare them into believing, but that girl snatched the idea right out of his head and is now putting it into action, practically putting her heart and soul into convincing them, while he's left thinking up more details for her to use. The protagonist has no idea what this crazy girl is thinking, while the Emperor hesitates. It's true that the Mao family seers were accurate in predicting the future, but now that Kuyu has spoken up, he says, Miss Mao, I already given my word. How could I go back on it now? Inside, he's panicking. Damn it, someone save me from this situation. I'm screwed. Seems like he's scared of those 500,000 troops too. Kuyu asks His Majesty to reconsider. Inside, the Emperor is desperate for someone to bail him out, but outwardly, he's forced to maintain appearances and say that the matter has already been settled. And then, our protagonist goes all in size and says that he too disagrees. The Emperor snaps, and who are you, boy? But inside, he's relieved, finally, someone to save me. I can blame it all on this guy, and I don't even know who he is. The protagonist says he's a member of the Lingu family and was invited to the banquet. The Emperor nods and says he understands. He must be one of Princess Qin Yang's relatives. But why does he object? Bigshun is getting angrier by the second. Everyone dares to speak up to the Emperor while he has to stay quiet in the background. Worse, the Emperor seems set on marrying Churan off. If she really marries the Prince of Kai, Bigshun is going to have to crash that wedding and slaughter everyone there. At that moment, the protagonist declares that the princess is gravely ill and won't live much longer. The entire hall goes silent, and the Emperor asks if he has any idea what he's saying. The Prince of Kai immediately asks, Your Majesty, could it be that you simply don't want to give her to me and you're staging this whole thing as a trick? The Emperor tells him to calm down and orders Lingu to explain. Our boy says that he knows a little medicine and that last month back at the mansion, he checked the princess's pulse. Unfortunately, if they don't believe him, they can summon the imperial doctors to confirm it. The first prince turns to Churan, asking if this is true. She's clearly just as surprised as everyone else. Bigshun, on the other hand, is smiling. He thinks he's finally getting his chance. He whispers something to Chengs, who nods in agreement. Bigshun steps forward and announces that he, Chan Bigshun, advisor to the second prince and skilled in medicine, would like to check the princess's pulse. He approaches, apologizes respectfully, while Churan is still confused about what's happening today. She extends her arm, he touches her wrist, then suddenly pulls back and says it's a pity, but the princess won't survive more than 3 days. Churan and the first prince exchange looks, and then the prince jumps to his feet, saying that his sister's skin is glowing and healthy. This guy is completely obsessed with his little sister, saying she's sick right now is basically lying to the Emperor's face. Bigshun simply says that if they want, they can summon the imperial doctors to verify his diagnosis. The Emperor rests his hand on Churan's shoulder and says that this complicates things. With poor Churan in such a fragile state, how could he send her away to a distant country? Then he spreads his arms wide and announces whoever cures her will get a like on this video that helps Mamoru make more juicy content for his viewers. Activate the cheeky little bell, and I'm out.